In political news today, 25-year veteran dog catcher and werewolf Dietrich von Wolfenstein has pulled out from the race for his 7th term when allegations of sexual abuse came from his co-workers at the local pound. Not that he was harassing or abusing the co-workers, but rather that the very dogs he was tasked with catching. Inside sources say they suspected something was wrong after an unusual number of captured dogs seemed to become pregnant while being held. Later, they realized it was often after the full moon. Security cameras were checked, and that's when what they saw shocked them. In full werewolf form, von Wolfenstein sneaked into the pound late at night, doing the unthinkable. Once the accusations came out, he was dismissed them on Twitter. Bitches gonna bitch. I didn't do anything wrong, and I'm horrified by these accusations. It's not like there's a video to prove anything. Quote. Once the video was released to the public, however, he quickly stepped down and is wanted for further questioning, but has since disappeared. In a twist of irony, the new temporary dog catcher has been tasked with hunting him down and bringing him to justice. Not just for the acts involved in the video, but for skipping out on the now some 78 claims of missing child support requests that he has received since the video was released. That number is still climbing. Call your local authorities for any sightings of the lost dog catcher.
This is RPMMO Radio.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
A podcast all about role-playing and MMORPGs.
I like what you got. Good job.
With your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, Sid, Jazz, Strafe, and Kitchless.
Everybody off. We need to go on a quick adventure.
Hello, role players. Welcome to RPMMO Radio, episode 59. Leave your morality at the door. And apparently, I'm hitting puberty as my voice continues to crack. There. I'm one of your hosts, of course, Ashen Phoenix, and with me, as always, is my crew, Jazz, Sib, Strafe, and unfortunately, Kishmas is nowhere to be seen. He was actually, funny enough, last seen working as a dog catcher.
Oh, the horrors.
I know.
Folks.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Doing
Doing all right.
Okay. How are you?
I showed up. Actually, we have a pretty good episode, I think, tonight. Not only the topic, which, if you want to call in about that later on, basically morality of the real world and how it would, or should not, rather, affect RP and things like that. If you want to say your piece on that, go to rpmmradio.com/Discord and join our Discord server there. Just drop yourself into our call waiting room. We don't have Rahana here right yet, so one of us will check on you. We also have a special guest from Limp Break Radio, Kallo, Landis, and we also have a big reveal for something we've been working on. Yeah, it's we're all kind of excited. We'll have Smiling Sorcerer on for that, and then we'll get to the main topic. So, with that, we really don't have a whole lot to go on. So we're not going to go ahead and do what we've been doing in roleplay because, frankly, guests are more important than what we've been doing. And I'm kind of excited to have Kallo Landis from Limit Break Radio, a Final Fantasy XIV podcast, one of the longest running ones, if I remember right. How's it going, Kallo?
The longest running, if I remember correctly. But yeah, what's up? Thanks for having me.
There may have been others, but unfortunately, they're gone. We lost them. They're gone. They're all gone.
True story. True story.
That's right. He's also part of, I want to throw this out there, Checkpoint Radio, which you can actually hear on nearly 70 radio stations across the country.
Well, 60. We're at the 60 mark. 60. I do appreciate the boost, but yeah, we're just 60.
We're going to reach towards 70 by this time next year.
Oh, hopefully it's way over that. Yeah.
But no, they actually have a really cool show at the for esports and things like that. It's not just streamed on the internet like our crappy show is. They have actual radio stations, which is very cool. So
Yep, and gaming, not just esports.
That's true.
That'll
Yeah,
turn some people
esports,
off, but we try to
gaming.
cater to both sides of the
even a lot of just pop culture. It's stuff anybody that listens to this show, you'd probably enjoy it. It's a very well done and very from people that actually play it and do that
Oh well,
stuff.
thank you.
So, but that's not why we're here to talk. I just wanted to throw his credentials out there. What we're here to talk about is this November. I forget what the days of the actual Final Fantasy XIV Fanfest are, but they don't matter.
It's the 16th and 17th, I believe, or at least that weekend. Yeah.
The only one that matters is the 16th. And Kallo's here to tell us why that would be.
That's right. So normally Limit Break Radio likes to do these cool little after parties at Vegas, and every time that we've done one at FanFest, it's gotten bigger and bigger. And this year we thought that we would try to basically top anything we could possibly do, and thanks to some of our connections through said Checkpoint Radio, we've actually managed to secure the Allied Esports Arena as our venue for the after party this year in the Luxor Casino and Hotel. So it's a really, really, really big deal for us. The bill that they slid in front of us, even just with the down payment, like we're talking like cement shoes if this doesn't go well for us.
Yeah. And I mean for anyone thinking it's like, oh no, they're going to do it at the off the strip Luxor, the mini. No, this is.
Do they have a mini Luxor?
No,
is that a thing?
But just in case that you're thinking, this is the fucking Luxor. This is the giant black ass pyramid that you can see from everything.
Yeah, this is the same one that Chris Angel, I think it was, floated above for a solid 6 minutes or 60 seconds or something like that. Yeah.
I mean, it's the esports arena in Luxor. You don't get any more. I mean, I had to look up pictures of this. You guys, I listened to your show, of course, and the first thing you guys thought when you walked in there, what was that?
Oh, well, we actually had the pleasure of going out there for the grand opening last year, which they had a bunch of different stuff. They had a Rocket League exhibition match. They actually had a exhibition match between Goichi and Sonic Fox in Dragon Ball FighterZ, and this was the last match that Sonic Fox had lost against Goichi before he beat him, and since whenever that was, he's actually beat him every single time, including most recently at EVO. But this place is absolutely magnificent. It has 2 floors. Down on the base floor, you obviously have the stage, which being able to go up on that, which people will be able to do, is absolutely incredible. They have computers lined up all over the floor as well. Obviously room to dance because there'll be music as well. They have private rooms in the back and up top. It's absolutely phenomenal. They have 3 bars, I think, total in there, 2 downstairs, 1 upstairs. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, with those bars, the great thing that they're doing with this is it's not just Limit Break Radio that's putting it on. They're you guys are kind of fronting the bill, and you're
right.
You're the cart pull, you're the horse pulling the cart rather, but they're gonna have just about anybody that has Final Fantasy 14 related content.
We've put out the invitation.
Invited out there.
Every single person is invited out there, absolutely. There is no charge to get in, so if you can find your way to the Luxor, by all means, this is the Final Fantasy XIV community after party. It doesn't even matter if you're a fan of Limit Break Radio. You show up, you don't got to talk to us, you don't have to see our faces at all. There's going to be so many people there. Well, show up, make some new friends, hang out.
If you like Final Fantasy or you just like MMOs as a genre, this is going to be a place where you're going to be among friends. I mean, it's whether you play if you like Final Fantasy 14, whether you hate it, if you listen to LBR, it can go either way. But
but again, this place is like a gamer's paradise.
Friends.
They have PCs set up, they have consoles set up. I believe the playtime is like $10 an hour. And again, absolutely free to get in, no cover charge whatsoever. But again, with the downstairs bar, there is cash and carry. So by all means, it is Vegas. We do encourage you to party. And you can actually get a wristband and open bar package for $60 after tax, which gives you access to the upstairs area, which is the VIP area. That's where most of the community figures will be hanging out. Again, open bar is up there only. We do ask if you're going to come for the open bar to head over to our website, limitbreakradio.com. There's a link over there to RSVP for the open bar. Even if you're not getting the open bar, just that we have an idea of how many people we can expect, please RSVP.
Yeah, if you just and $60 basically for an open bar in Vegas, and you get to be in the Luxor, and you get to walk on the stage of the esports arena, and you get to meet all these, you be around, fans and friends of the genres that you enjoy. Man, $60 is nothing.
It really is a steal. I mean, I feel like last year when we had our after party at the Rock House, which is a club, just I think a little ways off the strip. I think we had a cover charge then of like $20 or $30, and I don't think that included the open bar. So honestly, considering the venue, this is a steal.
Yeah, it really is. And yeah, it's limitbreakradio.com. If you do the /blog, that will take you directly to the to the RSVP sheet. If you want to sign up for the $60 thing, just click that little check mark. Their amazing producer, Kooky Persona, will get in contact with you and tell you how you can pay for that. It's all up and up. It's going to be November 16th from 8
p.m. to midnight.
8 p.m. to midnight. Not question mark. You're gonna have to go home at some point.
they charge us extra if we're there any longer. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, like this is not. I mean, it's the fucking Luxor. This isn't. This isn't. Dave's Bar and Grill down the street. This is something that you're not gonna get a chance to do more than probably like this. Unless this
not
is
that
just...
I want to toot our own horn, but I mean, people always talk very well, very fondly and wildly of our after parties. Not that we can remember most of them ourselves,
right?
But toot away.
According to the pictures, it looks like a lot of fun. Not that memory serves, but it
right,
looks like fun.
Yeah. So we really do encourage anyone who can make it out, because we know that there was a lot of people, because of the whole snafu with Square Enix ticketing sales, that a lot of people end up getting rooms and are coming out to Vegas, but they don't get to go to the FanFest, unfortunately. And what we kind of want this to be, and one of the reasons that we opened it up instead of just being the Limit Break Radio after party, but for the community as a whole, is this gives people a chance to come out and still feel like they get to be a part of something, Final Fantasy 14, something within the community. Even if you don't get to go to FanFest itself, you still get to come and make memories with the players and with the community out there.
Yeah, and there's no telling. I mean, there's Final Fantasy 14. I mean, everyone it's had its ups and downs. It's it's kind of it goes it could be
more
better
downs
days,
than ups recently, depending on who you've asked. That's
but
right.
It's still, I mean, of the MMOs out there, it's still in the top 5 easily. I mean, what are you gonna?
And regardless,
Blade and Soul. I mean, really,
and regardless of what you think of the game, I know that a lot of people know us as being very outspoken critics of it recently, and we get a lot of, well, why do you still play it? Type deal. And one of the reasons, again, that we wanted to be able to do a party this big and also extend it out to the other content creators in the community as a whole is, regardless of the shape that the game's been in, and regardless of whether or not you like our content or not, the one thing that I think everybody can agree on is that whether it was a Realm Reborn, Heaven's Ward, Stormblood, or even back during 1.0, the community for this game is one of the absolute best. They are so stellar, and this is just, we wanted to try and give back in some way. Whether or not you like our content doesn't matter. Show up for this party, because this is going to be one hell of a night to remember.
Yeah, if you don't, you're gonna run it, because, like he said, the community. I mean, I've played Final Fantasy 14. I loved the community. The game eventually got stale for me, which happens. I mean, it's an MMO. It's not for everybody, but the people involved in it, especially the ones that go to things like, and I always watch every FanFest every time. I don't even play the game, and I keep an eye on the FanFest, because the pictures that come out of it, the videos, man, the people involved in it, the community, they love being there. They want to be there. They're enjoying themselves. They're glad to be around people of like-mindedness. And you add alcohol into the mix, it's going to be a good time. I mean,
yeah, we honestly, we know a bunch of people who are planning on flying out for the party alone, or planning on driving out for the party alone. You had mentioned Kooky Persona, our producer. She isn't able to make it to FanFest this year because I believe she's getting ready for her wedding. But she is going to be out there that night to be able to party with us as well, which I'm glad, because again, she's basically put all of this together. She's been working, with the LA Esports Arena and jumping through all types of hoops and Nevada laws and stuff like that.
I cannot even
to be able to make this happen. So I feel like this is her baby. If she's not there, something's really wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, guys, I really, like I said, November 16th, 8 to 12. Any of our listeners, if you're in Nevada, if you're in the surrounding area, if you've been thinking of taking a trip to Vegas just because, and you're just like, whatever, like November 16th, 17th, that weekend right there, you've got something to do at least, for 5 hours that night. And you're going to have a good damn time at it. I guarantee. I've listened to these guys for a long time. I've given them shit. They've given us shit. It's all in fun. They are seriously going to put off a party that it's not even happened yet, and I already regret that I haven't been there. Seriously. I really hope nothing but the best for you guys. So 18 plus. Go ahead.
One little thing, too. I just looked up the average drink prices in Vegas. To give you guys a little idea, an average beer goes from $8 to $10, and the average cocktail is like 12 to 15. So if you want to get the deal, it really is a deal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so. Exactly. I mean, it's Vegas. If you're going to Vegas, you're not going to be drinking for cheap. It's not the 1970s, where you could get a lobster bar for 45 cents. This is modern Vegas. So $60, you get to meet a lot of really cool people. You get to drink all you want. I mean, man, just go out there, have a good time. And Kallo, I really appreciate you, man, coming on.
No, we appreciate you giving us the FaceTime.
Well, I'm just glad to help out, and I hope it goes for everything that you guys are wanting for. And I honestly, I cannot wait until the weekend after November when you guys wake up and, and tell us what happened.
They're also giving us access to their incredible studio and the stage there. So the plan is now to also be able to do a show from the stage. I'm not sure if it's going to be like just one big show with all the community and content creators on it, or if everyone's going to be able to do like their own show to their own Twitch channel. But keep an eye on, twitch.tv/limitbreakradio, or as we announce more and more content creators that are be there, keep an eye on their socials and their Twitch as well. Because yes, for those of you who are staying at home, you will get a small peek into what's going on.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
That is cool.
I'm really, over at, if I remember, it's twitch.tv/limitbreakradio is their Twitch channel. All right. I've listened to every friggin' episode for 2 years. I should probably know that stupid thing by now. But, again, guys, $60, November 16th, if you're in the area, go for it. And, Kallo, appreciate you, and wish nothing but the best for you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Sounds like
so
a good
much
time,
for
man.
coming on.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Talk to you later, bud. So, all right. Well, guys, if you're in the area, I'd appreciate it. Go represent roleplay community. You guys for out there in Final Fantasy XIV's roleplay. Show them what real nerds look like. Man, I really wish I could go to that. That'd be so cool. It really
does
would be.
sound like a good time for all, man.
Yeah, but Oklahoma, Vegas.
I would love to go.
Oh, seriously, it was very tempting, but we've got stuff coming up with somebody, so it probably wouldn't work out that well, and it's just not able to something we can do. But we're more than happy to help promote it, and I really hope it works out well for them. So, with that, let's move on to something a little more personal. Let's see. I'm going to drag this guy down here. Unmute him. There we go. So, a couple months back, we had Smiling Sorcerer work on a little project for us. How's it going, Smiling, by the way?
That's going pretty good. Thanks for having me,
Smiling.
guys.
Hey, bud.
Yeah.
Hey.
Smiling.
So, we had him, we were always trying to come up with something for the show, just something stupid and fun and things like that. We have various artists. We've got Yunfei, who has done our amazing character portraits. I guess that's the right word.
Yeah.
Which
are great, by the way. And
she's fantastic.
God.
Yeah.
Love them.
That's one of the many reasons I hate her, is her amazing talent at doing things I can never do with a Wacom tablet.
You showed me some of your work. Your stick figures are awesome.
Hey,
I know, right?
You said the fact that they were anatomically correct was a little creepy, though. So,
well, I mean, that's just not my style, but it doesn't mean it's not a good thing.
That's not the way I remember it. So, with that, what I wanted to do, we're actually going to have, we're going to premiere them. I'm actually going to slowly, while I'm talking, drag some of these over into our Discord general chat. show you the ones that you'll be voting on, because I know this makes for great radio. Listen to me drag and click. There we go. So there's all the little Drama Llamas that we had him make for us. And what we're wanting to do is get your opinion and tell him how awesome they are, because they are.
Let the critiques come.
That's right. And
whatever.
Oh my god, you guys, it's whatever. It's so awesome.
It is so awesome.
I don't know what that was. You okay? Do you need? Are you yeah, you got a little South Park stuck in your throat.
Yeah.
Little South Park.
You killed smiling, bro. Stop
That's
that.
right. So, what we want you to do is take a look at them. I'm both in Twitch and in Discord chat. In the Discord chat, you're just going to have to look at it on the actual form. But we set up a little thing to go ahead and pick your favorite one, and of that one that we have, we're going to make basically the first round. We're going to make some stickers out of them. Little vinyl stickers. It's going to have the show logo on it. We just want to know which one of those Drama Llamas you would most like to see placed on something as an actual product.
Also known as buy.
Also known as buy, which we're going to get to that. We're probably going to do it through our Patreon. Given the price of the stickers, and we're just going to mail them out in envelopes. They shouldn't be too much per thing, but if you go to our Patreon at patreon.com/RPMO Radio, which I'll get to all the other stuff here soon. I'm thinking the $5 level and above will definitely we'll get you one, because that should work. But we want to know kind of what you guys think of them. Vote for them, and that will lead to the final decision. I'm not going to be. This isn't.
Isn't end all begin all,
right? This isn't America's Got Talent, where the public vote is the end all be all. But it is. It is greatly going to influence and help our decision, because I think we all know which ones we like. I think every one of us is digging on the crying one as the first one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, because it's the Drama Llama thing. But I love all of them. But that one.
Thank you.
That one is. I think that's a personal favorite of everybody's.
Well done, bro. That's really good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So, you remember, and for those of you that don't remember who Smiling Sorcerer is, he is the one we did from a long time ago with Disabled Gamers Got Game. He's the guy that if for some reason you're just an insensitive jerk and you just don't care about disabled people, has cerebral palsy.
Yep.
So the fact that he draws all of this with his mouth is simply amazing. Just go with
I know,
it. They don't know any better. Yeah,
it took me so long to do it. Yep.
And how do you keep the drool from getting on the screen?
The drool is actually what I use to color my images.
Oh, there you go. That's amazing.
I just mix it with a little food coloring, and there you go.
Just whatever blend comes out of your food processor, right?
Yep. I need a little red. I just bite my lip.
There you go. Well,
I need a little yellow. I just go to the bathroom, then come back.
Yeah, that explains the brown in the llama's hair.
Yep. That's obvious. So
poop jokes. Yeah. That's what you can expect from us.
Yeah.
But no, anybody. We're actually I'm gonna put this up as a pin for anybody that listens to the podcast later.
Cool.
You can go to the general chat in Discord, click on the little pin at the top, and vote there. We'll leave this open for probably just until the next episode.
Cool.
And let you know the results, because I know there's not everybody listens live. We have a lot more podcast listeners than we have live listeners, which is understandable because not everybody can be here at the same time every single week. So, have you done stuff like this? These kind of like this was your first llama, wasn't it?
Yeah. My first llama that I did for a job. Yeah. I've drawn.
You draw a lot of llamas on your personal time?
Oh my god, I love llamas. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Why are you kidding? They're amazing. They spit at you.
Oh, thank you. No, but I've drawn similar, quadrupedal animals before, and that's actually, like that. And camels is one I've done. And, horses is also a popular one that I get asked to do a lot. A lot of people like horses.
Yeah, they do. They make the best glue.
Yeah.
No.
Wow. Dark. Okay.
Really?
Dad just speaks up.
You're breaking my balls, man. You're breaking my balls.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's the first llama I've actually done for a legit job, and I'm pretty proud of it. Though I will say, I probably will not be drawing a llama for quite some time because this is the final product. But what a lot of people don't understand if they don't come from the same like drawing career or path or artistic path, artists draw probably 24 on average bad sketches before they get to the good stuff. So in my drawing stage, before I even handed you some of the preliminary sketches, I just had like 3 to 5 other ones that I did by myself. I was like, no, this one's too shitty. No, this one too. Crap. No.
Oh.
So I mean,
yeah.
Through the whole thing, I was just like, oh my god, I never want to see a llama again for like for like a whole year.
Yeah,
but,
Straffe, he does a lot of that stuff. And does the you do the 3D rendering stuff as well.
Spit it out.
I knew
He's having a stroke, you guys.
I knew what I meant, not what I said.
3D art for game content. Yeah, I was trained in
cool
painting and drawing in undergrad. So yeah, I know all that stuff. I know his struggle. I know it well.
No, it's rough. But it's definitely worth it down the line. I mean, when you finally get that cohesive thing that you see in your mind put onto paper, I mean, there's no better feeling. There really is.
Yeah, especially in it really give the instructions I gave you were, you pretty much hit them spot on as far as I'm concerned. I can't think of
thank you.
Anything. So,
you really do get that sense of gratification once you get that final piece after going through so many fails, so many sketches, so many reworks.
And what was really a nice bonus for me was I actually, to prepare for drawing a llama, because I've drawn similar things, and the first couple of sketches I did that I eventually threw away were too similar to like a camel or a donkey. I was like, no, this isn't.
The drama donkey.
Yeah, right. I mean, they are assholes,
right?
So it would make sense.
It doesn't have that same rhythmic rhyme to it that Drama Llama does.
Right.
Are you calling us assholes?
No, I mean, like, if a gamer is a drama person, they're probably also I don't know.
Okay.
No,
not you guys. I like you guys.
Yeah, because we're assholes.
I've dealt with I've dealt with a number of donkeys before.
Yeah, Rohanner said that you and Phage redrew our portraits something like 20 times. So yeah, what you say tracks. It doesn't surprise me at all.
But yeah, so a lot of the sketches that I just ended up throwing away were like camels and donkeys and looking like, no, this isn't working. But what was neat was I actually sat there for maybe about a half hour thinking to myself, okay, how do I get out of the mindset of drawing a donkey or donkey? Ogres are like onions, but how do I get out of this mindset? And so I was like, wait a minute, Emperor's New Groove. So I actually I literally binged Emperor's New Groove twice.
Yeah, but I mean, as projects have to go and things you have to do to get it done.
Yep.
I've sat through the Emperor's New Groove twice in a row just because I wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, that is one of Disney's most underrated shows in the history of all of Disney ever. Seriously.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And I watched it twice, not only to sort of just capture Cusco's emotions and everything like that, but I knew that I hadn't seen it in a while, and so I needed to watch it once to get my initial reactions out of the way, because I knew I was going to be like distracted. So I watched it
instead of just sitting there watching. Yeah, instead of watching it, which is what happens the first time. Yeah,
right. So then I watched it a second time to kind of just dissect it. And if people can tell, the third one, I think it's the third one you dropped in, is actually a very close representation of one of Cusco's facial expressions.
That's if I remember right, that's when they're tied to the log, and he's like, "Let me guess, waterfall." Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sharp battle. Most likely, bring it on.
Yeah.
Yahoo!
Yep.
Yeah,
that's one of my
watched that
favorite
show several times.
Yeah. No, it's good.
So,
I don't blame you.
But no, man. So if we could get everybody, throw your 2 cents in. Let us know what you think. Click on the link both right now in Discord and excuse me, in Twitch chat. Just you can click on every single one of them. Just try to pick one or two. You know, so
pick your favorite.
Just pick your favorite, and we have.
I picked the crying one and the smiling one.
Yeah,
I love both of those.
Yeah,
and
but we'll probably have other things. You know, if anybody, I get it. We're kind of a small podcast, but we want to do the best we can to get our name out there. Role players are like herding cats. You know, not everybody listens to podcasts to start with. You know, but getting out there for the various games and role play communities is a lot more difficult than you would probably think.
Oh yeah.
So
and it's kind of funny that you say that a little bit, because this is actually not the final draft that I first sent you. I actually sent you drafts of these images without the headset.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I actually have those as well. I just I dig the ones with the headset because it's got a little logo on it.
Yeah,
and
that is really a cool.
Thank you. The next day, I was like, you know what? It just looks like a regular llama. It doesn't say that it's coming from a podcast, and so I was like, headset.
Yeah,
that's what I can do.
For those wondering, the difference between them is just that right there. I put another one in there. And yeah, he added the little headset to all of them with our little RBR logo on there, with the little speaking boxes. It was, I totally dig it, man, and I really hope everybody.
I think it really makes it.
Yeah, I hope everybody likes them. I hope it's something that you guys might want to be interested in. We'll probably put funny little slogans like "Ain't no drama for this llama," or I don't know. We'll all work it out.
I love it, so.
Don't be a crybaby llama or something.
Something like that. Don't be a
I would totally buy that T-shirt.
Yeah,
not being biased.
But you know, we're gonna get them on some little vinyl stickers with the show's logo on it. We'll probably figure out somewhere where if someone wants to order shirts, if you want to order a shirt for the show, I'm sure we'll probably order a few ourselves. For there's all those websites these days where you can basically just throw something up there and they'll and send it out. You know,
I mean, if ever you guys do like a event somewhere like that Final Fantasy guy was doing, you guys could wear these as like your official
I absolutely
uniform. You know?
Oh yeah, if we were able to go to that, I would absolutely have a giant shirt made and plaster that on the back of my ass.
No, not the shirt, on the ass. Perfect.
Yeah, that's right.
Giving more reason why I should have drawn a donkey instead of a llama.
That's right. Donkey! Sorry.
Everybody likes waffles.
Every time I hear that, all I can hear is the Gabriel Iglesias joke about why he said donkey from the redneck guy. It's because you're Mexican and you guys ride donkeys. No, that's not why.
That dude is hilarious.
He's great.
Oh, so good.
So all right, well, man, I appreciate you coming on, talking about your sophisticated art of the cartoon.
Thank you.
The cartoon llama. If anybody ever has a project, should they reach out to you?
Yes, they should, and they can. I actually am currently taking commissions.
All right. I didn't want to. I didn't think to ask you that first, so I was like,
I don't know. What are you doing there, Brian? No. I actually just set up last month a DeviantArt account specifically for game-related stuff.
Okay. What's that at?
That is at deviantart.com/smileysorc. Smiley, the word, SORC.
Okay. And if you're in Discord, he's the smiling sorcerer. It's the goofy-looking pumpkin with the wizard hat.
Yep. And I do actually take game money for a good number of these things, as long as they're for.
Which games?
World of Warcraft would be gold. Lord of the Rings, gold, because that's their highest thing. Let's see. Then there was Elder Scrolls is also gold. Most games do gold, I guess.
Right. Well, I meant which games, not what currency.
Right.
I mean, so I'm not asking if you're taking. It's not like It's not like you're going to get the the Argent. What's the country that's money is worth absolutely nothing? Not Brazil. The other one the Argentina. No, not Argentina.
I'm not sure, but it is. a thought about
Basically,
that.
World of Warcraft's currency is worth more than their actual government's currency. That's what I was getting at.
Pretty much, yeah.
Sad face.
Funny fact, though, did you know like the currency conversion is in a lot of places is actually ridiculously high? Like you can
World of Warcraft is still among the top 3.
Well, no, I'm not talking about games. I'm talking about real life places. Like I think my brother told me, I can't remember exactly what the place it was, but like $80 of U.S. money. I think I want to say. And this is all due respect to anybody living anywhere. Just going off.
Quit being a pansy. You guys,
just for the record,
suck.
I think my brother said Mexico or something, and $80 was worth like a couple thousand there. I'm like, holy shit! But,
Venezuela, the country I was thinking of was Venezuela, where literally, I think they now have a $50 billion bill that's still not worth $1 American dollar.
Oh my god!
Yeah, their currency's trashed. They actually, I think we did a thing almost a year ago where the actual like money to conversion for World of Warcraft was World of Warcraft money was worth more than theirs, which that's a rough place to be at. I actually feel really bad for all those people. Sorry, guys.
No, it's all right. I'll drop the link into the general chat, which I just did. But anyway, it's World of Warcraft, Lord of the Rings, Elder Scrolls Online, and Rift is also another one I use.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, just reach out to Smiling. He's on the Discord. If you go to his deviantart.com/smileysorc or source with a C.
But short for Sorcerer, but yeah.
Right, yeah.
People just started calling me Sork, and I'm like, oh, just roll with it. I don't care.
Yeah. People call me things too, but they're typically just 4 letters.
Wow. Oh, do you need a hug?
Well, I mean, she's my mom.
Aw.
All right. Well, now that we're all depressed. All right. Well, man,
moving on.
Appreciate you not calling in, but appreciate you coming on, and
welcome.
Thanks again for all the stuff, and I look forward to seeing what we come up with and what we put on there.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll definitely be one of the first buying one. Definitely.
Damn right.
Have a good one, Smiling.
Get some of my money back.
Thank you so much.
Later,
You're
brother.
welcome. You're welcome. Later.
All right. So, actually, part of the I want to thank our one thing I didn't get to earlier because I'm a jumbled mess tonight. Is a special thanks to our Patreon donors, like the Truth Bob, who's at our Raid Boss level over at patreon.com/RPM Radio. Actually, it was your guys' donations through the Patreon that made this possible, because that money paid directly to Smiling Sorcerer to do these for us, and so that we could try to put it back into the show to give back to the listeners that will give back to the show. And it's how economics works. We're basically dirty pig capitalists here. But also in the Star Trek variety, where none of us actually gets paid for it. We just put it all back into the show. Because Jazz and Stefan don't get they'll get a sticker. You guys will get a sticker.
Stickers, yay! Hey, did you want me to make
Stickers are the best. I want one.
Oh, you'll get one.
Pink. I want a big one.
Hey, did you want me to make the regular radio stickers?
I don't know. Well, probably. I actually have. I'll be honest. I do not think that far ahead. I am not what you would call a shrewd businessman.
I'll make up a few prototypes for you, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I got my work PC back up, so that's
cool.
good.
Cool. All right, so that's all the Jeez, that's the 40 minutes of promotional material we have for the show. So I appreciate everybody listening through that. It's not something we do very often, but we're really excited to have Limit Break Radio do their thing along with the Final Fantasy XIV community, which,
yes,
as role players, we support because they have a huge fucking roleplay community over there. Given it does have a lot of Fudacocks in it, but somebody has to love them, and that's what Strafe is for.
Aw.
Just don't look. Just make eye contact, dude. Don't look below the neck. That's all I'm saying.
Looking at the eyeballs.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So we're gonna go ahead and skip. We're not gonna do what we've been doing in role play. Two of us didn't really have a whole lot going on. Jazz and Strafe. We're largely busy this week. I had some stuff, but with all the other stuff, I don't want the show. I mean, the topic alone, I already I'll be honest, this is one of those ones like the 49th and 50th episode where it went on for 3 hours. This is one of those topics where I worry that might actually happen. So, because just by looking at everything Jazz and I had put in, Jazz had a few things to say about this topic. Did you, Jazz? Jazz is gone.
Jazz.
We lost Jazz.
Imagine that. I picked the wrong key. Sorry about that. I'm sitting here talking, and you're like, Jazz. But
Jazz.
Shit. Looked at my keyboard and was like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties notwithstanding, it's a Jazz.
That's right. But so what were you saying that we didn't hear any of? Did you...
She clicked the wrong key again.
No, I didn't. I wanted to make sure this time when we got the keyboard.
It's a troll that keeps on trolling.
What was the question again? I just forgot.
That you
Shut up.
I love you.
That you
I
had
love
a
you,
lot
Jazzy.
to say about this topic.
Yes, I did. And as a former guild leader and a current guild leader who deals with little fires and Drama Llama.
Yes. And I think we just now actually lost her because of her connection. But yeah, if she's not alone. We actually have a few. We probably have a few calls coming in. I think on this one once we get moving. I know at least 2 other guild leaders I know were like, "Oh, I got to get in on this one." So hopefully they get done with something else they're doing and will be here after a little while. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Morality is always very, very important. Unfortunately, when it comes to role play, it gets a little sticky when you don't know how to shut one off. Excuse me. But before we get to that, let's go ahead and do a quick word from our sponsor, who is this is a new one actually, and oddly enough, like so many of them, it fits directly in with the topic. I don't know how we keep doing that, but so let's see here. Save your friend, or let strangers die. You only have time to save one of your children in a burning building, but which one? Fruity Pebbles or Cocoa Pebbles? Life is full of hard choices. According to researchers, the average adult makes up to 35,000 choices a day. How much of that takes valuable time you may never get back? Wouldn't it be great if someone or something could decide for us? Introducing the Moral Compass. With this creation, all those pesky choices made on a daily basis will be automated. Installed directly into the high-functioning parts and motor cortex centers of your brain, never again will you have to make a difficult moral choice, as the Moral Compass will make them for you. For example, to the above questions, friend or stranger? Neither, so long as the collective survives. Which child should you save? Whichever is closer. Fruity or Cocoa Pebbles? Neither. You will gain sustenance from the energy matrix supplied to you, 8 of 12. Get your Moral Compass today. Brought to you by Borg Technologies, Inc. And remember, resistance is futile. Well, go get your implants today, guys.
I would steer clear of that place, especially if they want sticky in the neck.
You think so? No, it's just
yeah.
It says here it's just a quick nano injection, and then your worries go.
Damn day.
Hey, Jazz, you all right?
Can you hear me?
Say it. Yes, now we can. Speaking of Borgs, Jazz, you all right? I think your connection's shitting out still.
Poor Jazz.
Yeah. So, all right.
It's the halflings, Joe. Bro, you've pissed them off so bad, they started attacking our cast members.
I know. Well, I mean...
didn't you see that halfling deal, like, marching around her house? I think she had to scorch earth him.
You will be assimilated. Just saying.
Borg? Oh god,
it's a terrifying. That's a terrifying visual. Just an army of 1,000 little halfling Borgs at knee height.
I'm back.
Hey, Jazz.
Welcome back.
No, I'm not.
Bye, Jazz.
Good talking to you.
This is
Dang.
just like growing up with my dad, in and out of my life every single day. Just,
no.
I want to say this before my connection goes away. Windstream can kiss my entire ass.
You heard it live from here.
That's right. You heard her, folks. Windstream, kiss her entire ass. This is the part where I'm really struggling not to say the next part that comes with it takes too long to kiss from one side of the moon to the other, but
no.
I'm not going to say that. I'm going to be the bigger man.
Accurate, however.
Hey, from one big-ass guy to you, I understand. I got a lot of real estate. That's all I'm saying. If I were Donald Trump, I would probably have to mortgage some of this off.
Oh god.
He does have junk in his trunk.
Yeah.
Compared to me, where I have no junk.
No,
I got nothing.
I'm Mount Everest. She's the plains of Kansas.
It's the Indian in me.
Well, as long as you said it, not me, you racist.
Oh god.
So, speaking of morality and horrible jokes,
which you just are so good at.
What?
Yes.
Hey, the Indian joke was the Cherokee over there. That one had nothing to do with white boy over here.
Well, she's not allowed to do that.
Yeah, she's one of them self-hating Indians.
Yeah.
Oh god.
I don't know.
My Cherokee's not definitive to that one, bro.
I got nothing. I mean, we only live in Oklahoma. It's only the state called, literally translated, the Red Man. So, whatever.
I'm so used to Indian jokes. One of my good friends, when I first met them, he was sitting there and he goes, "Can you believe the nerve of those Indians being on our land when we got here?"
Oh my god.
Like, excuse me? I mean, we had just met and I was like, oh crap.
Wait, that wasn't me, was it?
No, it wasn't
okay.
you.
That sounds like something stupid I would say.
No, you just make comments about, man, been drinking a lot.
Well,
I can smell it from here.
Well, you are also half Irish. So, I mean, really, if anybody accuses me of being racist, I'll be like, no, I was talking about the white part. Oh, okay, it's all right then.
Oh, the irony.
Still stereotypical, you ass.
But it's not racist anymore.
I didn't say racist.
I
then
know.
You're just a prejudiced ass.
But it's just still, it's better.
I'm so used to
being
just proving his point, Jazz.
Racist and stereotyping, which one's worse?
Really, they're kind of equal. Well, no, racism is worse, I think.
I've never heard anybody shouting at somebody on MSNBC saying, that's stereotypical.
Well, no, because most people can't speak the word and don't know what it means, particularly in our administration.
You mean like ambidextrous?
Yes, like ambidextrous. Let's pounce on that nerve and get me going again.
So, morality. We don't have much, but if you did, because you're not us, morality... This is going to be a fun show, folks. Morality and RP can actually... It can be a tough one to let go of. And I'm not saying you let go all over morality. Like, yeah, I'm role-playing my character. I'm just going to cheat on my wife and, bang everybody, even though they don't want to, like we talked in the last episode. That just makes you an asshole. That's not about morality. What I'm talking about with morality is things like how we're raised from birth to understand, like, obviously, not murdering other human beings. Typical, good one. I think there's a few verses in a really long-lasting book series that specifies that one a few times. For those of you that aren't familiar, it's the Bible. Not to look at people differently than us just because of skin color. Oh my God!
You got this. Keep going.
I've had caffeine. I've barely had any of this beer. This is just the caffeine in me, just like going faster than my mouth can keep up. So because of your skin color, obviously looking at people differently, that's bad and stupid. There's plenty of reasons to hate people. Their skin color is definitely the least among them.
Full agreement.
Just wait till they open their mouth. They'll give you the rest of them. The tragedy of things like genocides and slavery, of course, are some of the worst examples of humanity throughout history. And unfortunately still going to this day at this very minute. We just don't like to think about it. And we all know, or at least we should know if you don't, that these things are worth fighting against and to keep from happening or repeating. So what happens when you go into a world that has all these things in a far more brutal era than our quote-unquote modern age? Going back to things like the times of Jesus. I mean, there's a reason someone like Jesus was such a big transformative figure, and when he said don't hurt other people, no one else was really saying that. That's what,
true.
Whether you believe in the divinity stuff, take all the miracles and divinity out of it. Just if you go off a historical basis, the historical basement of Jesus, you don't want to go in there. It's got a lot of things that
it would just have baskets full of bread and fish that he kept.
That's right.
It'd be pretty excellent, actually.
And wine. Don't forget the wine. The wine was a big part of that. Wine. He was a lover of wine.
Old JC's the man, bro. I'm just saying.
That's right. But it was a far more brutal era. That's why somebody that was speaking peace and love and not murdering everybody around you was such a transformative figure, and why so many people hated him. But if you're going into an era where it's like that, the times of Babylon, the Crusade areas, when the Christians were fighting the Muslims, and it was just they call it the Dark Ages for a reason. It's not because everyone was like, "Ha, I love shitting in the streets." Nobody likes that. It's not fun. But so if you go into that, what do you, as somebody living in the current year of 2018, which means you're quote unquote woke, which if you use that term, you're not, you're just a dummy because it's stupid.
No, you're just trying to look like
right. Yeah, it's just you. If you haven't watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine, watch it, because the Captain Holt, he says, "Oh, so someone said, oh, you're woke." Yes, I am. Only I would never say it like that because it's awakened. He's like, I would never use improper grammar like that.
But you speak the King's English, sir.
The King's English. So, the fantasy worlds we role play in. I mean, just like our world. I mean, everyone. Us folks in our first world countries, America, Europe, Asia, a lot of them, we think, oh, the whole world's like this. No, man, the world is still, in parts of the world, it is a brutal and savage and horrible place to live in, and where you constantly live in fear that your family and children could be killed at any moment. We have it pretty good. So when you're put into a game where that basically is kind of the day-to-day life, and we do it as a fantasy setting, how do you turn that off, or what parts do you have to let go of? And you have to remember too. I mean, we have enough prejudice and racism just based on the fact that somebody's eyes look a little different, or they have more, more pigment in their skin, or their accent is funny, or whatever. We have that enough. We have enough racism with that. But in these games, man, they have not only that, but they've got entire species that are vastly different, that are they're like lizards and cat people and halflings.
Ashton, I always wondered how people today would react if, like, for an EQ1 style, if you're the dark elf going, "I'm a cool dark elf," and you try to run to Freeport, and you can't understand why the human guards are donkey stomping you.
Yeah, I mean, they just
clearly. You're a dark elf, not a human.
It would be like that show, that movie, rather, Bright, the one with Will Smith on Netflix.
Yes. Yeah, I wanted to see that so bad.
A good one.
You should watch it, Jazz. You would enjoy it.
Is it the best movie ever? No. Is it amazing for somebody that role plays in fantasy? Yes. Absolutely, and I enjoyed every minute, and I can't wait to see the sequel that they're making.
Buried lives don't matter today.
That's right. Yeah. But they have orcs and and the high elves, or they don't have high elves, but the elves are they're the glitz and glamour of Beverly Hills, and a lot of the orcs were kind of thugs and gang members and things like that. Obviously they were making a lot of comparisons to just modern day society and things like that, using a species instead of color.
Yes, exactly.
But
especially when they kept calling his orc partner a sellout, like, the whole time. It was like, oh, yeah. That's so powerful.
Yeah, it's like the I can't say the other version, but basically an Uncle Tom, you know.
Yeah,
the other version would be a house
doing.
something or other, and I'll let you fill in the blank. But, you know, and it was an amazing comparison. We don't have this on here, but it fits. So, you know, if you had to live in that world and you just grew up with that, that's the prejudice. I think it would probably even more pronounced than the problem we currently have. And it's hard for people that, you know, I was raised, like, the first time I heard the N-word, I was 10. I'd never heard it before that. And the only reason I heard it is because one of my friends, when we moved here to Oklahoma, they called it, you know, the ding-dong door ditching thing. You ring the doorbell and you run. They called it N-word knocking.
Yeah.
And
I
I was like, oh, okay. I had no idea. I didn't know the context. I'd never heard the word, no reference whatsoever. And I went home into my parents, and guess what I told them we did?
Oh, dear.
Do you enjoy that one, Jess?
Oh, yeah. I can
and I was
see
like,
it.
I came in, little 10-year-old Ashton, like, I might have been 11, actually, because we had been in the house for a little bit. Hey, we went N-word knocking. You don't say that. You know, that's when I learned. It's like, she's like, they're like, it's a very bad name for black people and this and that. And they kind of started to explain that to me. But honestly, I grew up in California. I moved here to Oklahoma. I was here 2 years. It was not part of, it's not part of my lexicon. And this is the same time for me watching something like the Jeffersons and I don't think the Cosby Show was around just yet. But you know, the Jeffersons.
No, not yet.
No.
Although the Cosby Show was around for a long time.
It was, but this was like 90. I want to say like 91. So I don't think the Cosby.
They were there. Oh yeah, that was the 80s.
Yeah,
they were in the 80s.
Yeah. Okay. So I grew up with, but you know, the Jeffersons. That was on. You know, that was
in the 70s.
The 13 channels that we had back in that day in California. You know, so I grew up or watching, what's the All in the Family? You know, he had that. It never dawned on me what a racist dick that guy was, because it was just another, you know, it was a black guy, but whatever. So that kind of stuff, you have to look at it when you're role playing and turn that off. We all know that's bad. You know, you don't want to judge somebody based on their race or character, on their race or their species in the case of role play.
Yeah,
but
I was 8 years old, bro. I heard that crap at my dad's place of business because they were a bunch of dudes hanging out. I got home. I was talking to my brother. Words that slipped. My mom pulled me in there, grabbed me by the ear, jerked me out down the hallway, and I got the belt, and it wasn't fun at all. And I always remember that lesson to this day.
Yeah, see, at least my mom understood I'd never heard it before.
Then she dressed the old man down when he got in. I bet. So everybody caught it. I was like, dang. Darth Chaw on a rampage.
Yeah, but now she bought you that sweet-ass Fallout bag, so all is forgiven.
See, there's merits to keeping Emperor Chala happy.
That's right.
Things are like, you know, that Pit Boy like satchel.
Yeah, it's pretty badass.
The Nuka World T-shirt and the Mr. Handy Abraxo Cleaner T-shirt and all the other Fallout goodies she gave me. But yeah.
But you know, and I'm not going to beat this dead horse because we get it. Everybody here, we all know each other. You know, trust me. If any one of us thought the other was a racist, they wouldn't be on this show. Period.
No.
You know, I might say horrible things, but you know, Jazz, Sib, Strafe, they all know that's not my heart. I don't hold hatred in my heart for people based on stuff like that. I hold it for real reasons because you're a fucking idiot.
I love you.
Yeah, I mean, right? If you're gonna, you know, if there's a reason to hate somebody, aren't there so many better reasons to just not like them? Just judge them based on their character. There's plenty of characters out there that you can just hate based on that. Keep the hate alive for the real reasons, not for artificial ones. That's all I'm saying. No, I'm kidding. Don't do that either. But hate's bad. Blah blah blah. We get it. Whatever. But when we're role playing, you know. We live in a modern era, and we're pretending to be something from basically a medieval and in depending on the game, scientific time. Some of the science, it's like, man, that vastly outstripped your ability to probably understand or comprehend. I think one of like The Witcher, they actually mention things like genetics and DNA and things like that. And while I understand humanity for centuries, if not millennia, has actually understood the way genetics works just visually by, picking good corn and stock, we didn't know it was called genetics. It just was a thing that we knew to do, old Steve the Smith wasn't in the back end of England being like, well, the genetic manipulation of this cow should certainly bring about a great stock next year. He's like, no, we don't kill that one. We can kill this one because that one's bigger and he'll have good babies.
Gotta have them good babies, man.
Gotta have them good cow babies. I don't know why he went from proper British to redneck hick, but yeah, whatever. We're gonna go with it.
I mean, aren't those called calves?
Yeah, cow babies.
Calves,
Okay.
yes.
Cow babies.
They're calves, yeah.
But saying calves is not funny. Cow babies is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a point.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you say it like this. I like them cow babies.
Got to get them Angus babies, man.
Angus
they get that
babies.
good tenderloins.
Tender.
He's got a pointy
Look at
head.
them tender walking ribeyes.
Hey, you don't make fun of my point. So, all right, before we drag this on, when it comes to the role play and the fantasy stuff, we're pretending. We're making all this shit up, You aren't playing you, as we've gone over ad nauseum in this. You don't want to play yourself. And funny enough, one of the worst things that you can possibly do in the real world, like murdering another person, that seems to be the easiest hurdle for role players to overcome. Mm-hmm. I mean, Jazz, how many assassins in character games or people have you murdered time and time? Like it's just like, yeah, and I slit their throat as their blood ran red in the streets.
Yep.
And then you're like, man, I could really go for some pizza pockets. It's literally, but and part of that, I think, it's probably, I think, just a lot of, we've all grown up with TV, movies, seeing things murdered and stuff like that. It's so humdrum anymore. Like, there's a few times if you're watching something that's really dramatic that, man, it could really, when it's not over the top and cheesy, like so much of Hollywood and things make it these days. But if you see something brutal, like, that's why those things, those not that Jazz would know, but those horror movies that showed the brutality and the gore of like, bone snapping and all that, the Saw series of stuff, while the way they were killed was ridiculous, they kind of went out of their way for the realism of how the human body would react to that shit. And that's what made you, that butt clenching kind of moments that
There's been a lot of desensitization. We've been desensitized a lot to some of that violence on TV and movies. So, I mean,
it's also, like, not to be overly graphic, but if you live on a farm and you slaughter animals, you eventually get to the point where it doesn't bother you anymore.
No, you get it's your food.
You get sensitive. It's our food. And I grew up slaughtering animals for food. And when hunting, we hunted for food. We raised our food. So, when I was 10 years old, my mom was left us home for 2 weeks alone to go on a training thing over Christmas break. And
Mom of the Year, just saying.
Yeah. And some of the rabbits got out. And because of the way that our rabbit hutches were, they jumped out and broke their necks.
Oh.
And
we're skinning grizzly hours, weren't you?
We walked out there, and two of them were dead. And one of them was dead, and two of them weren't dead yet. It was really rather gruesome. We gave the dead one to the dogs. The two that weren't dead yet, we butchered the way we normally would. Right. Yeah, we finished them off.
Yeah, but and that's.
But we were 10, and I told my teacher about it, and she called DHS.
Oh. But that's the thing, what you just described, except for the last. From probably the last 60 years now, I'd say 60 to 100 years. That is literally everybody's life on the entire planet.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
Like no one batted an eye about skinning their own game.
Yeah, if you couldn't catch it, you couldn't clean it, you couldn't eat it, you starved. You were dead. You were just
right.
There was no safety net to there was no food stamps or anything like that. It just. and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm glad people aren't, for the first time in human history, more people are dying from obesity than starvation. As problems go, dying of obesity is probably a better one than dying of starvation. Just saying, I would prefer to work backwards from that problem, not forwards from the mass starvation of, the human species problem.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
I figure I can go a good 3 months without food.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
working on it. Yeah, I'm working on it.
As long as I get water, I'll be fine.
Right, yeah.
I'll be a little cranky, but I'll be fine.
A little cranky? Let's be honest. Yeah, let's be honest. There wouldn't be anybody in that house left alive. Not because you ate them, just because you'd be like, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Exactly.
So when it comes to... so we all get it. Real life morals are good. All right. So, what kind of things do you have to get over? Because one of the problems I see, and like I said earlier, we have Jazz here. I know I've not heard anybody that we've brought this I've brought it up. Other people have brought up this topic too. That have not been like, oh yeah, that's a good one. Like I've got two different Sabea from my guild, Jay the Exile, who's a listener. They're both doing something else in roleplay right at the moment, but they're hoping they can get done with that in time to come over here and say their piece on it. Like this is a problem a lot of people have. Well, I'm not saying that like you have that, like you can't do it, but it's also a problem that you have to deal with.
Yes.
As we've had to do the last several days in our own guilds, it comes up. Morality, I get it. It's hard, It's hard to let things go, to let things slide, to understand sometimes a joke is a joke. Sometimes blatant racism in character is just in character. It doesn't mean like, you hate all lizard people. I mean, I, for one, welcome our new lizard overlords. I saw that documentary V. I think they have a few good ideas.
Documentary? Really?
Was it the new one or the old one?
Doesn't matter. They're both, there's one that's just a modern updating of the documentary. A little more detail.
Real.
Yeah.
A lot more graphic.
Yeah, a lot more graphic. Didn't last as long, though, and was not nearly as popular as the original.
They still like eating the mice. You know how it goes.
They do still like mice control. So we're going to hit a few of the topics that come up with murder, things like racism, prejudice and discrimination, slavery, sexism, and then just a few other like modern morality problems that people seem to not be able to jump over when it comes to their roleplay. And hopefully, hopefully you're not one of these guys. There's not a ton of people that have a problem like this. I don't know, Jazz, what would you think? Like, I can't even say.
I would say 30%.
So 3 in 10.
Yeah, 3 out of 10 people.
Yeah,
it's too common to. I would actually honestly. But I will be nice and say 30%.
Yeah, it's unfortunately more, and it comes in varying degrees as well. Like some people are so over the top. It's like I can't even communicate with you on a human level at this point because you're so far out there. And others, it's like it might be their hang up. Like I have a hang up with the slavery one. However, I don't lecture other people and tell them not to do it. I just understand that what it is, and I avoid it, which I'll get to later. But so it happens quite often. It happens more often than I think it should for somebody that's like, yeah, I like to roleplay being something else. Whoa, you can't do that. Well, then why are you here? But one of the first ones is murder. And like I said, I think on this one, it's the easiest one that most people have no problem. Part of it is probably because the game you're playing, you literally slaughter thousands of creatures and humans and things like that in the game itself, I mean, like the entire... I don't know many MMOs where you're not out there just basically just slaughtering in a genocidal way thousands of creatures.
Funny you mentioned the slaughter, because when you're playing Fallout 4, you're killing raiders, and yes, they're human beings, even though they're dirtbag raiders.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, you kill... I think post 100 or 200, you get the achievement masshole, which is literally your mass murderer, pretty much.
Masshole.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, man.
Well, also the one that takes place near Massachusetts. That's what they call people from there, up in that.
But literally,
in the DC
still...
area.
Well played.
It's actually a thing in the DC area. They call them massholes.
But you're still killing hordes of other sentient beings, right?
And what does that do for you?
I mean, It makes you feel powerful, but
that's like you as a person. It's just like, well, yeah, it's a
just
computer
mobs,
game.
right?
Yeah, who gives a shit, And that's how most people react to that stuff too, which is why, the whole murder and playing video game makes you a murderer. No, you kind of already have to have that tendency in order for that to trigger. That's the game doesn't really help. I don't think it really helps one way or the other. So, sorry, but that's just me and science. So this one really, if the only time I think I've seen people have a problem with it is when, like, for me, my biggest annoyances is when it's, and it's really more of a storytelling perspective, when it's just used as a cheap factor, like somebody that. There was somebody that was just for a while everything they ran was like babies and children were getting slaughtered, and it wasn't. I mean, they don't exist. I'm not upset because fake babies are no longer existing when they didn't exist to start with. It was just it was supposed to be an emotional punch to the heart, but it's when you do it all the time, it's not. And it doesn't make sense. That's my biggest problem with things like that. Is it just. It doesn't. If you can't keep up with it and have a good storyline for it, there's no point to it. So that one, that I think it's murder is definitely the one I think most people have the least problem jumping over and being okay with.
I can see that.
You got the.
It's in movies.
Yeah, movies. You have the people that play werewolves and vampires as well, the assassins.
It's in animes. I mean,
those CW shows, like how many people get killed in those things? Maybe not the heroes, but plenty of villains and things like the bystanders. I mean, watch a Marvel movie. When they attack New York, hundreds of thousands of people just died. Yeah. In the Avengers, a lot of people died in that movie. You just didn't see it. You don't think twice about that. It's just like, oh man, that building just fell over. That building's full of people. Yeah, it's New York. Yeah.
Yep. It's filled of hundreds of people just died right there.
Right. Yeah. I know it was really cool how the Hulk, slammed into that building and went all the way through those offices. Yeah. Steve in accounting was in there. We lost Steve.
Steve in accounting and Dave from what do you call it? R&D just got totally hosed.
Right,
Let's do that building.
Right. It was business casual day. This was the best day of his week, and he just got killed by the Hulk by accident. Yes, it happens. Jazz, you had something on this one too, so I'll let you hit that real quick, or if you're able.
Let's see, which one was we on?
Murder.
We're still on murder? I thought we had moved on. Okay.
No, not yet.
I enjoy roleplay about murder, and I'm not sure what that says about me. It always makes my shrink
a lot.
I usually play assassins. My husband says that's why he knows he can never ever really piss me off.
Smart man.
I have a temper. I always have, and I think that this helps me to work through my inner rage. Because I think sometimes I want to kill people and I can't because it's wrong. And I think when I'm in a game, what I'm doing, it's very cathartic. And
she's not scary at all, folks.
I think it's like that for a lot of people. I think a lot of people find it very cathartic to run around and shoot people in the head with a sniper rifle in whatever game they play. Mm-hmm. There's something about it that is very cathartic. The problem is, of course, that I'm never going to do that in real life, but somebody who isn't as balanced might.
That's the thing about games.
They have.
That's the thing about games. You get to have that release of which you could never do.
Mm-mm. No,
and
yeah.
So
no.
Sorry, go ahead, Ashen.
No, I was just agreeing with you. It's like, I was just rambling on.
Like you're never gonna go wipe out a bunch of super mutants or a raider nest. But sometimes you feel the need to mentally, but you're like, no, society rules.
No, and
morals,
and lack of super mutants so far.
Well, that
we know of.
we know of. But
so-
yeah, the game allows you to let some of your darker impulses escape, and I think it's healthy.
Yeah, and and like with the murder one, like we've all come up with some pretty grisly like stories and ways of killing characters and stuff in the game. Part of it is just like, you know, you go over the top because it's interesting and it's fascinating. You know, like one of my favorite authors, Mark Tufo from the Fallout zombie Fallout series. The way he describes killing the zombies and, you know, like when other people attack and stuff like that is just one. It's both it's disturbing, and also somehow he can make it funny at the same time. And, you know, you're laughing at basically someone getting killed. Like there was a character, Paul. He was attacked by zombies and he was injured badly, and he had thought he had found refuge in a house, not knowing that he had found his way into the house of a crazy cat lady who had already died. And guess how he died? He was eaten to death by about 60 cats. No, they were regular cats, but they were feral and they were starving, and they ate them alive. Yeah, it was brutal. And at the same time, dude died by dozens of little kitty cats. It was kind of ridiculous, and yet somehow in the story, as ridiculous as that sound, it worked. It worked. So, you know, it's just one of those murders. Just, you know, it's an easy one to get over. The other one now is racism. By the way, racism, bad. I think we can all agree on that one.
Yep.
Any dissent? Anyone? Got the ban? No ban? No. Okay. All right. We're good. You know, and we get it. It's bad. You know, and if you haven't been paying attention, it's still bad. But in RP though, it's good. You know, it's okay. Playing a racist as your character doesn't actually make you one. Someone I know actually in another chat recently said that they hate that so many role players give reasons for their character's racism. Like, like I was beaten up by Altmer, or orcs, you know, killed my family, and so I hate all orcs. Blah blah blah. You know, and they were saying how they hate that because racism isn't. That's not really how racism works. It's learned and it's taught, and it's something you grow up and into and around, and it just, you know, it's like a cancer. It just seeps into a lot of things, and some people can obviously learn and overcome that. But it's not something that's just like, you know, like I said, just something traumatic that happens. You know, it's just not caused by that stuff. It's a mindset, or, you know, quote unquote, a value or a superiority complex that, you know, you're listening to. I don't even know who, whatever the head KKK guy is, or those people that used to think that the back in the Civil War age, you know, like black people, well, their skulls have more bumps, and it's all, you know, the shape of your skull is dependent on how inferior you are as a species of humanity, and blah blah blah, whatever it is. That's the shit
in roleplay
you learn.
I mean, whatever your race that you pick, literally, I mean, most games will divide races up into races. Hey, surprise! Those races have cultures. If you're dealing with a Teardal or any kind of dark elf, dude, you kind of expect that they are xenophobic and out to kill everything else, not them.
Yeah, it'd be like going from India to China to Saudi Arabia, Europe, Africa, and America, but instead of just different cultures and, you know, races, it was a different species on top of that, which makes it even more alien. You have to remember, too, a lot of these things have a different species, which there's no telling, you know, the way a different, you know, we're at least all the same race of human beings, and we still can't seem to understand that at times. But if it was literally a different species that was just as sentient, good God, of course, you know, it makes sense that that's kind of where you go. But you don't have that. What this person was saying is that they understand the concept that the racism doesn't come from an event. It's just something that's ingrained in that person's psyche. So what this actually made me think that, you know, in most people aren't really racist. You know, most people in the real world, we're not racist. I've only recently seen someone online like that. I was in one guy that I met on my mail route that I was like, damn, you are really racist. You know, and there may be a couple others, they just hit it better. But for the most part, most people they may have a prejudice or something like that, but they're not out and out like, yeah, them black people, or them white people, or them Mexicanians.
Them whatever people.
Right. Insert blank.
Them Texicans. Heck yeah.
Those damn Texicans. Those are awful. But
that's right.
Here's the thing I was getting at, though, is people that don't think like that, they don't understand it. It's not a concept that you can grasp like rationally. It's because it's not a rational concept. It's like trying to figure out when a crazy gunman shoots somebody up, or somebody goes on a mass slaughter in Europe and starts just slicing at people with a sword or a knife for apparently no reason. Everyone always asks, well, why? You're never going to understand, because that person is fucking nuts. You can't rationalize the unrationable. So it made me think when they were saying this that if you haven't been raised about that way, you can't understand that. You don't know even somebody in your family that may be actually racist or around you. In your head, the only way to explain something like that is to do it the best you can, which is, well, I mean, I would probably hate somebody if this happened to me. I mean, it's probably never happened to them. But even if that happened, I guarantee you they wouldn't be like, well, now I hate all white people or all, whatever. But as a story format, seems to, I think it's acceptable. I mean, it's as good a reason as any. But people seem to have kind of a hard time understanding that concept, if I'm not rambling on incoherently, and that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. And I think when people take, and we've talked about this before, and people take real world derp and they bring it into a medieval setting like this, and they try to push that crap, it's like, bro, you are mixing on such an epic level, and you're just trying to cause drama, and it makes you wonder what their real major malfunction is.
Yeah, and it's just you don't have to explain. So when it comes to the racism, my characters I've played, they're dark elves, like the folks in the chats are saying, or the chat is saying. I mean, it's just part of their culture. They believe themselves superior. So do the Altmer. If you've not played things like the Somerset, or any, the High Elves back in EverQuest. I mean, all that stuff. They all, each one of those races and species, all think they're better than the others.
Yeah.
And
so when you get players that are like, I could never play an Altmer because they enslaved goblins and this and that, I'm like, are you serious? Are you smoking something like this?
I only
play a freaking game, man.
I only play a dark elf. I would never play an Altmer, though.
And speaking about Dunmer, hippity hoppity.
That's right.
Argonians. Dunmer property.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we also thought of putting that on a sticker or shirt too, but I'm not sure how well that one might go over.
That could be problematic.
Yeah, that might be one you leave at home.
Down. Yeah.
But since when did we give a shit what other people thought?
Of course, one of my shirts tends to annoy people, and I wear it anyway. So.
That's right.
What?
It says you say bitch like it's a bad thing.
Oh, yeah.
My mother hates that shirt, so I always wear it when I go see her.
You're such a kind and
because
loving
I'm a
daughter.
bad person.
You're a terrible person. You're a terrible person.
You're bad.
Your poor mother over there is worrying about you. Sheesh. Never called.
Would gnaw on your bones if someone gave her credit.
But and it's so, and like you said, Strafay, that I think we've all seen people that are like, well, I can't do that. I'm not a racist, and I would never play that. Well, I mean, I can get that, but you're not playing yourself. You're playing a character. And that's
not real.
Part of the world, and it makes things
interesting.
But
the problem is that a lot of people don't. I mean, I'm beginning to understand that there are a lot of people who do not make that separation.
I hate to, and I'm not, and this isn't a millennial joke, but I think the more and more as we go into the generations, it started with our generation where they really fucked up with the everybody's special, everybody gets a ribbon. Everybody has a talent, and you have to love yourself, and the whole self-esteem thing. in the 80s and stuff like that. I think that's where a lot of this stuff started to happen from, because I grew up with all that stuff. And as I've gotten older, I've learned, no, honestly, not everybody's special. Some people are just average. Some people are below average. Some people are special. I'm probably average. I've got very few talents.
It's funny about that, Ash, and that was going on here in Texas as well, but only in the bigger cities. But to my teacher's credit, I never got a gold star. I got the shameful bronze one. So,
see, we had the bluebirds and the redbirds, and I was always part of the bluebirds, but the redbirds were the smart ones. And
yeah,
and they separated us out like that, like we wouldn't know the difference. But even at first grade, we knew the difference. We knew we were the dumb ones.
We did. At some point, it encouraged me to try harder, which I eventually got to the silver star stage, but I could never get that elusive gold star.
I was sitting next to Ned over here eating the paste out of the jar by the handful, and the other guys are using it to make their turkeys. I kind of figured it out on my own.
This is great paste, guys.
I may not have been an idiot. I was just lazy. Really lazy. Except when I have my grandmother tell me, Mike, you spend more time figuring out how not to do what I told you than if you had just done it. I was like, oh, yeah, that's a good point. I'm still not doing that, though, Mama Mary. I got this back thing. I got to go walk on Papa Allen's back, like I said in the previous episode. He's calling. He's calling me. I got to go do that before I pick up my toys.
I was like you, dude. I didn't want to be in school. I wanted to hang out with my brother. I wanted to be at home and not being indentured there for how many hours until the school bell rang.
Yeah, it's just
but
it's a real, this one, the racism, it seems to be harder and harder for people get over, because they think it's a reflection on them, and it really is like what you said, Jess. It's them not separating in character from out of character, and that's kind of a big one, because eventually, I know we've had problems with stuff like that in the past, where people like they bring certain things into it. It's like that. Just because my character just said that doesn't mean like, no. What the hell? What are you doing?
I had a really big problem with this when I was running the guild, because there were people, and there was far more of them than I cared to admit, who really seemed to truly believe that I was a dark elf living in Iowa.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're still not a dark elf living in Iowa?
And you've also done that joke before.
Mm-hmm. I know, but
yeah, every time we're like the straight and the
yeah. You know what makes jokes funnier? Repeating them.
Oh, shut up. No, the point
it's still just funny to me, though.
I know.
There's so many people that truly didn't understand that I was not my character. Yeah. And they would say, how could you say that to me knowing this, and this about me in real life? I'm like, she doesn't know anything about your real life, because she's a cartoon character and she doesn't know who you are.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's the.
I had people who fell in love with my character and not me. I had people who fell in love with me because they loved my character.
Yeah, and see, this whole time I loved your character, but I've never really liked you. Like, for
example, exactly.
See, and you've loved my characters, but you can barely tolerate to talk to me most of the time.
That is so not true.
Oh, come on! Now you just ruined the joke.
I know.
Quit being nice. Be mean.
I'm not a mean person. That's what they don't understand. Baka may have been a mean person, but I'm not.
Straffe, back me up. I have heard that she's actually a dark elf living in Iowa. Have you heard that rumor?
I have heard that rumor.
Okay, just checking.
I have on good authority that she paints herself pale.
Yeah, she's like the Joker. Her skin's actually white, but so when she goes out, she has to paint it like peachy colors to make it look normal. Only it's blue instead of white.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Big long braid. She dyes it red, and just lets a little of the white show through. Oh, I'm just getting old. See?
Yeah. Meanwhile, she's 400 years old with another 3 to go. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
She knows all this stuff that I'm talking about. She was there during the Crusades. So you had a say on this too, Jazz. What was
on the racism thing? Because my first child that I adopted was African American. Up until that point, I had met a lot of racists in my life, but I didn't really think there were any living around me. Surprise!
Pushing around him on his wheelchair. I guess that.
Well, no, he was back when I first adopted him. He was mobile. He didn't actually go into a wheelchair until he was 9. So
I gotcha.
He was walking, and he looked perfectly normal until he was about 6 or 7. So most people had no idea he was handicapped. They just thought he was, dumb because he talked like a baby, even though he was 4. And he was such a loving child, and he would just smile at everyone and want to hug them, and he was like that. And I ran across so many people that were just completely racist that it took my breath away, and it made me I stopped taking him out for a while because it was too hard for me to see people that I saw every day react to my son because of the color of his skin, including my mother. It was really hard for me to see that. And I see that in game. I see people who play racist who aren't racist, and I see people who play racist that I think on some level probably are.
I got to tag into your story, Jazz. It kind of goes with
what?
My cousins are African American, and I actually killed my first deer, and he killed his first deer in the same weekend. Together, and we're great friends. Davion's a cool dude, but when we were going to town to get stuff, we would get the freaking looks. Me and him hanging out, my dad taking us around. So it's out there. It's just human nature, I suppose.
It is, and I think a lot of people don't really realize that they're racist. I think a lot of people grew up with it, and it's just kind of in there in the back of their head, and they say stuff without even realizing how bad it sounds.
Yeah.
I've confronted some people, and they've been absolutely horrified that I took it that way, quote unquote. No, I didn't take it that way. What you said was wrong. So I have a unique perspective because of my son. And in role play, both with prejudice and with racism, some people pick that role play because it allows them to act in a way that they can't act in their real life. Just like us. With murder. There's always going to be those people who are acting out something that they know is not morally acceptable, but they really want to be that way. Then you have people who do it like, I have a character that is very racist. Vodka was horribly racist. Do you remember? Horribly racist. It was hard for me, but at the same time, it also taught me something very important about being racist. That it's not about, like you said, something happened to me. Just is.
I was bugged or held at gunpoint for the real world thing. Yeah.
People said, "Why don't you like these people?" She was like, "Well, I don't dislike them. It's just dark elves are superior."
Right.
It's nothing personal.
Yeah.
And she didn't understand when people would get so angry. Like, so you're saying that you're above me?
Well, yeah.
Yes.
That's how I play my dark elf Kenix. He's an assassin kind of guy. He believes he's better. Whenever he's around you guys, he obviously believes, other than the other dark elves, he believes himself superior to every single one of you.
Yeah.
And he jokes, and he might make an offhanded comment in the way of a joke, where I always try to do it like is in the. Does he really mean that, or is he just saying it because he knows that's the stereotype?
Right.
I always try to play that line where, of course, he believes it, but he's a superior race and creature. Why would he need to prove it to the lessers? He doesn't need to prove anything.
I did a lot of reading and studying when I did Vodka because I don't have a prejudice other than against stupid people. And I do have terrible prejudice against stupid people. I feel bad about it because it's just automatic. People come out stupid. I just want to reach out and go, please stop talking. Stop using my air. No one's talking to you. So it's really hard because that's what happens in my brain when somebody's dumb. And I know it's not their fault. Most likely they just didn't have an education. But it just hurts my brain. So I do
irritates folks, yeah.
It's the self-imposed ignorance that really gets me more than
that's
anything.
The part that really gets me is when they know they're dumb, but they don't care. But I'm sorry, but I went and did research, and I watched on I rented this should age me. I rented videos of interviews.
Is that back in the days of the old Blockbuster stores?
Yes.
Wow.
I went to Blockbuster and I got some PBS specials, which some of you might remember, where they interviewed what's his face that became a senator. Eventually, he ran the Ku Klux Klan. He was the Grand Dragon.
David Byrd?
David Duke.
Duke. There's so many racist Davids out there. I can't.
I know.
Keep them
What's up with that? But I watched like an interview with David Duke. I watched some other interviews with some other very well-known racists at the time in the 70s and 60s when they were interviewed, and they were just so nonchalant about it.
Oh yeah,
and
he goes, it's
nothing personal. He says, I don't think you're a bad
is.
person. You're just less.
Yeah, you're just black. I can't. I'm sorry, but you just
it's
are.
Not your fault.
You know,
but you're just less. I'm sorry. And I watched those to learn how. So it helped me deal with this now. But at the same time, when somebody's bringing stuff in from the outside world and saying, you can't be prejudiced, it's not okay. Well, they don't have that concept in this game. So what's your problem?
Yeah, I'm aware of that. That's why I don't not like other races on Earth. However,
and on that, Jazz,
problem,
it's good to know your enemies. So you have to study them to understand them so
well,
you can overcome them. Yeah.
And even then, and even at that, you hear somebody nonchalantly just like, well, I mean, of course, I mean, they're largely just used for chattel and for lifting heavy objects. You look at them this day and like, you're just brainwashed.
Yeah, I know.
Like how do you I mean, what you have to wonder if it's like people that judge. You know, we judge the people 60 years ago on that stuff. They were a product of their time. Trust me, like I've said, people are going to look like on 2018 and these first 20 years of a new millennium, 50 years from now, we're not going to look so good. We're
going to be in the history books the same as they were when we look back on the on segregation and everything. Yeah. And we look back on those black and white photographs and go, oh, how could they do that? And that's what's going to be like in 50 years looking back at us.
Yeah.
So
it's the same way people look at leeches as a cure. I mean, or drilling a skull in the head to let the demons out, or
let the bad blood out. Let me get the leeches.
You got to let the sick blood out. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Medical leeches are still a thing, but that's for like amputees and people having stuff reattached, and it gets the blood circulating. It's not to let the evil spirits that are making you sick go.
Exactly.
We at least understand leeches are important and have a place, but they're not there to. That's what killed George Washington. Few people don't know that. He was bloodlet.
Yep,
and there was a guy. There was two doctors there at the death of George Washington. He was very sick, and there was the traditional doctor, and he wanted to blood leech him. Let the bad blood out. But there was another one, and it was a revolutionary new tactic, and it was called the tracheotomy.
Oh yeah.
And he wanted to cut the throat open of George Washington and put in a tube so that he could breathe through that tube while he was, getting over, and while his, all the other stuff was closing down and he was constricting. And the older leech doctor said, "You're a madman. I am not going to let you cut open the first president of the United States. Get my leeches."
Exactly.
That sounds fucking insane. There's tracheotomy kits. They come in plastic bags. They're in the back of every ambulance and most medical kits across the world. It was a life-saving technique that at the time looked like sorcery. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And you got it. And that's one of those things too. When we're playing these characters, I don't even have this on here, but medical terms and actually I think we have that in the miscellaneous.
We get let's deal with that when we get down there. We have a lot to talk about down there.
That's the entire thing. So so the racism, you have to let that go. I mean, never be like, casual racism is okay in real life. No, it's always bad. But if it wasn't for racism and things like that, man, could you imagine how boring Stephen King's books would be?
Yeah, it's important for us to read and write about it and RP it so that we understand it in the real world. It's important to deal with these things in a safe place.
Yeah, it's why I'm against, I get it. What's this? I'm not even going to say it, but you should still read it. N-word Jim in the Mark Twain books, and, Huck Finn.
Yep, Huck Finn.
You shouldn't take those out of school. You need to let your kids read what literature used to be, was perfectly fine. And there's still the tales and stuff in that are still important. It's still part of the American culture and history.
If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. That's
Right.
why burying bad history serves nothing but to doom you to repeat it later.
There's a reason everybody looked at Nazis burning books as not a good thing.
I'm like, I had my kids. We checked out Mark Twain and we read it when they were fairly little, but they were readers, and so I got it, and it was a big book with big pictures, and it was a really nice book. And when they read it, and they were like, "Mom," because they found some bad things in there, and they immediately came to me, and I said, "Now, why is that bad?" And we had a very long talk about what it meant. Mm-hmm. And they could not believe that someone, Xander was just horrified.
A learned and well-respected someone, no less.
Yeah.
One
he
of
was
our
like,
best
would
storytellers.
they do that to Mark? He was like, but Mark's brown. And I'm like, yeah, they would have done that to Mark. And he was just
not just brown, and not just brown, but he's, because of the other issues he
special,
has, because he's special. There's people in history, man. That's one of those things with the Dark Elf. Obviously, I am glad that your son is with you, and I would prefer him to be in no other place than in your care. But as a Dark Elf, when people talk about that stuff, it's just like, well, yeah, obviously, you just, it's a character thing. You chuck them in, no, that's not worthy of survival. Do I believe that? Yeah. Absolutely not. Would my character?
No, but back then they did, and and that's why you don't see any handicapped children running around in the game. You don't see any children at all, but you don't see handicapped people really.
And we still live in. I hate to say it too. We still live
there.
Like that was. I forget what the Swedish company. It wasn't. I think it was. I forget which one of the Slavic countries up in near Sweden and Norway. They said they came out a couple months ago, said that they had cured Down syndrome. They didn't cure it. They're just gonna kill everybody that is in utero diagnosed with Down syndrome. That's not a cure.
No, they figured out a way to diagnose it, and then you just get an abortion. That way, it's cured. Yeah, and it's like that's not a cure. That's not a cure.
A cure would be a genetic manipulation in the womb, and then they come out with, I guess the extra chromosome is missing, and they're have the normal amount that they're supposed to have, and carry on. But
again, learning from history.
Right.
Don't be the Spartans throwing your defective babies into the sea. I'm just saying.
Don't be the Nazis being like, the undesirables and the gimps and
Heck, we'll even go to the sci-fi. Don't be in Star Trek. Don't kill your babies and because your Romulan children have defects.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Or Babylon 5. One of the there was a race that they had come and they what was it? They wouldn't even speak. They wouldn't even speak to the other, like the humans and stuff on the station. They had a translator there that would speak for him to the people that were showing him, because they were trying to see if the human race was worthy of making first contact with and trading with and things like that. And in the end of it, what the twist was he started talking to Ivanova, and it's like, because she took him down to the ugly parts of the station where the people that went there looking for work couldn't find any, and then they didn't have enough money to get off the station, so they lived in the down below, which was the poor section of town. And he's like, see, in our species, we just don't we don't speak with other alien races that are lesser than ourselves, but you've managed to do that within your own species. We will be incorporating this on our home planet shortly. And
Ouch.
It's like, oh shit. It's like, it's just such a that's such a crazy thought, So but moving on from racism to prejudice and discrimination, which is not racism. I think we covered
that, really. We kind of already stamped on it, but
yeah. But just to go over, because there is a difference, right?
There is, yes.
Prejudice is having preconceived notions about something without basing it on reason or actual experience with that person or group of people or religion or ethnicity or vegans.
Yeah.
Maybe not the last one. Which again, bad in real life. But it's a great flaw to have in characters. And having prejudice and discriminating against other people isn't actually the same. It isn't the same as racism.
No, it's not. Racism is about race. Prejudice is about other things.
It can be about anything.
Yeah. I don't like fat people, or I don't like people that wear green, or I don't like people with blonde hair. There's always prejudices that exist.
Would it be like, okay, when you said earlier, Ashen, about, say the orcs killed my mom.
Right.
Would that fall into discrimination or prejudice?
I think
Prejudice.
that would be more prejudice. And prejudice and discrimination are basically kind of the same difference.
When you said that earlier,
it wouldn't really be racism. It'd just be, because you
discriminate against them for the act they did.
Yeah, you just you have a preconceived notion based on one person and things like that, and there is a difference, but like true racism often comes from a far darker and much more ingrained, like I said, a quote unquote value of that you have. Like it's a principle, something that you live by, something you believe in deep down in your soul. Whereas prejudice is, I think, can come and go more or less. It's really more like you were saying, like you killed your mom, and you're like, I don't like that group over there, but but some of these guys are all right. Jazz, you had a part on this one as well.
Yes.
Go for it.
As I said this before, I believe that people choose racist, prejudiced, hateful RP because they want to. Some do, and some because they like it, and others they secretly like it, and others because they want to see what it's like to be that way.
Or others are just trying to freaking play their character, right? I mean,
well, yeah, but you're still doing it. I think a lot of people pick a character. Maybe not all people, but I certainly pick a character because I want to see what it's like.
Yeah.
What that experience will be like as I walk around in their skin, to see how it feels, to see how they're treated, to see what happens when they do X, Y, and Z. And I know and I've met other people that are like that, but I'd say there's only like 15% of us. To
your point,
then you have a lot of people who just role play because they enjoy the interaction, and then you have the people that enjoy it because it's hateful. Mm-hmm. The hateful people are always going to cause the drama, so you'll be able to suss them out pretty quick.
On Sibby's point, my ranger, my old main ranger in EQ2, literally his parents were killed by dark elves, and specifically Ringots had killed his folks. And he had this burning hate of all dark elves, like it just never ended, and to the point where it almost consumed and killed him. And the irony was, his first wife was a quarter dark elf, and when we found it out, it kind of destroyed his whole preconceived notion of it. And they had to readdress it. But that was good storytelling, and I wasn't doing it because I hated dark elves. I was like, this just make a great story.
Yeah.
What motivates him for such rage.
I really do think the majority of people choose it because it's cathartic. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it means providing psychological relief through open expression of strong emotions. It means
tell us more than Paul's pretty fancy words. I like them when you say them.
Such as releasing pent-up emotions, energy, or poison. So, for many people, playing a racist person makes them feel more powerful in dealing with people who are racist. So, or prejudice or whatever. And if you bump into somebody that is making OOC comments racially or prejudicially, then you know to kind of take that step to the side and distance yourself.
Yeah, and at the same time, you also have to remember, some people are really sensitive about that stuff. I've been accused of that. Guess what? I'm not. Not a true believer, right, Straffe?
For real. That was a rough day.
That was. So before we get on to the next one of slavery, let's go to our call lines where we have my guild leader and 3 or 4 year friend now, I'd say, Sabea, on the line. How's it going, Sabea?
I'm doing great, and I'm glad to finally get a chance to call in and have something to discuss with you guys.
I'm glad for it too. When I had mentioned this, you were like, "Oh hell yeah, I'm getting." So I take it you have some opinions on things mixing between the real world morality and the morality of, say, a tribunal of dark elves.
Well, I think that's what's so interesting about that kind of roleplay is because it forces you to kind of abandon your real world morals, because otherwise there's really just no way to adhere to the lore. I mean, the lore that we have for the dark elves in the Elder Scrolls series is that, in general, at least their institutions are absolutely terrible. And I know, like, the one story I had mentioned to you before was like where you actually had a GM trying to educate people on how terrible the lore is.
Yeah, so you mentioned that earlier. I've really Okay, so what is the story about that? What was that?
Well, I was hoping that Jay Arthrin would be around, but I guess he's a little too intoxicated at the moment.
He did start drinking when I mentioned this at about 5. It's, by the way, guys, it's almost 9 my time. He likes to role play while a little sauced. That's why we love him.
Well, so anyway, for the ones that don't know, he leads a large slaving guild in Elder Scrolls Online of Dark Elves of House Trez. Well, one of the events that he used to do fairly regularly was having slave auctions where people who would be playing slaves, mostly alts, would get auctioned off, and that would be kind of an RP hook to start your RP with that person. And it was a fun way of, meeting people and getting an alt out there with a group that you didn't really know and kind of expanding your horizons. And I think a lot of people really enjoyed it. But what ended up happening is there was a lot of protesters and people who were coming both in and out of character to try and disrupt the event.
That's insane. Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. And I remember kind of the penultimate one was where we actually had a GM come out. GM Mavori back in the day was kind of like the roleplay GM for Elder Scrolls Online. And he was a fantastic help. You could request his presence in advance and he'd show up for events and kick out the trolls. Well, what happened is we, at that event, had 20 plus people in and out of character protesting and demanding that the event be stopped.
That's awful.
Yeah, and so what happened was Mavori, because the GMs can make themselves invisible, he appears with his GM tag and he's like, okay, guys, settle down. And he goes through and he's starting to explain the lore to them and say, no, look, this is the lore. Their characters are terrible people, but I'm sure they're very nice. If you want to get involved, go ahead. Otherwise, please be respectful. And the people rioted. They were shouting down a GM because they were so convinced. Even the ones that were in character went out of character at that point to attack the GM, calling him racist.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's freaking insane. Like, what level of daycare generation you got to be to freaking not blur the line between game and reality? Sorry.
No, you're absolutely right. But what happened is, he's keeping his cool like a true professional. So he starts teleporting people away. The ones that are the loudest and yelling at him and calling him racist.
Oh, that's awesome.
He just starts teleporting them across Tamriel. But the problem is they kept coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And it got to the point where he admitted that he had to start handing out bans because people would not stop. They would just keep coming back, calling him racist, demanding that this be stopped and that all of us be banned for role-playing this.
Yeah, and that's, I'm glad you came in on that story because slavery was our next thing, and that's exactly, it's we get it. Slavery's really bad. It's it's making another sentient thing do your bidding, and suppressing its free will.
It's almost like you planned these segues, bro.
Actually, that one I didn't know what the story that she had involved. That just worked out. That's
attack of opportunity.
Really good, yeah. But it's there's so many, and that's the thing. Seb is so many games. Like someone had mentioned Conan Exiles, but Age of Conan, both Conan games. If you've not read a Conan book, that's a brutal world,
Yeah.
But Conan, ESO, EverQuest, Guild Wars, Lord of the Rings, all of these things, all of them have things like slavery and whatnot in them because...
And it's important to understand that the reason for that is because slavery existed in our world until about 100 years ago. It's not been that long. Illegally it does. You can pass all the laws you want.
I get what you're saying.
But if culture still says it's okay, it's going to happen.
Yeah, and I get legally it is still, unfortunately, even though it's illegal now, there's more slaves. Like I've said before on the show, I don't know how many times, there's more slaves today than there were in the 400 years of slave trade. There's 28 million slaves, and they say about half of those are probably kids. And they're not doing labor anymore.
No,
they're not. You, Lydia, looking at you.
Yeah. So that is great, and again, like for me, the slavery role play, I know those events. Like, I don't enjoy taking part of it just because that's something I have strong feelings about, and I just, so I just don't go. It's not, I don't condemn you guys for it. I understand it's part of the lore, with Tarvala, she's been around the slaves, she's slaughtered inferior races left and right. Don't have a problem with it. It's just, so for that event, I just don't go. It's just not something, it's not that. And of course, she's an ordinator and she has no use for slaves, but that's beside the point. but go ahead.
Oh, so no, what I want just to touch on for a second is that, from almost like a community mechanics point of view, having that slavery aspect in the role play is a really good way to kind of bring new people into the community, even if that's not the character that they're going to end up playing full time. Like, most of those people in those slave auctions were people who were brand new to the community, and we had a bunch of people where Sabaya would buy up slaves all the time, and these were just characters that people had made for the auction, but they got in the guild and you were RPing with us, and they were like, wow, I'm going to make a Dunmer and continue to be part of this. So I think even though a lot of people are uncomfortable with it from, point of helping introduce new players to the community, it can be useful too.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there are people that, like you were saying, they were rolling these characters up. Jazz, how many people do we know through our EverQuest 2 careers that people like playing the submissive slave characters?
Right. Well, I touched on that.
There's a lot of people that do,
in our little notes thing.
Yeah.
What I said is slavery has existed since the dawn of time, and while slaves were often fair game for nasty, lecherous use by males and females, by the way, that owned them, slavery was largely physical labor, not sexual toys. That happened later. BDSM and toys and other adult things wandered into the mix in the 17 and 1800s, and it wasn't even mainstream anywhere until the 1970s. So can we please stop acting like that's cool? Slaves were considered one step up from actual animals, and having sex with them was a no-no, although it obviously happened. No one gloated about it publicly, and no one went walking around with a slave on a collar and a leash, leading them into the town bar.
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen in this game either. You never see it, even in areas where there are slaves.
They're always labor.
Yeah, and that's important because I think the BDSM angle and submission and all of that, but there's nothing wrong with that. I'm from the community myself. But there's a place for it, and it's good to remember that it's a very, very small percentage of actual slavery.
Yeah.
Back then. Now it's huge.
And part of that is, part of that, the BDSM section of it that you were talking about, that's just because of the modern age in which we live, where that's, let's be honest, a lot of that is just people that like to ERP. And they're playing the role of the submissive,
they don't even get it right, which is okay,
step on me, daddy, kind of stuff.
But they don't even understand what it is. They're
because they've
just slap and tickle for ERP.
Right. It's just ERP. It's not like they've had a chance to do that with a real person. Those are surprisingly hard to come by unless you go to certain cons.
Yes, you have to go to certain cons or be in certain circles and go to what's called a bunch and get to know people. If you don't do that, then no, you probably aren't going to find it because it's still illegal in places like Iowa, where I live. So
she seems to know an awful lot about the law surrounding this.
I had to. I have kids. So I had to drop out of the lifestyle because I had children and I'm not going to endanger my kids. But yeah, I know a lot about it. Probably more than I should, or how anyone else in this channel is comfortable hearing about.
It's okay.
The morals and slavery. And,
it's okay, Jazz. It's just between you, me, and probably a few hundred other people later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, Seb, that's man, that one especially, because ESO is, it's rough. Like the biggest complaint I know on lore, that one of the ones you have, is the Argonian being on the side of the very race that is constantly enslaving them. Really? No.
Well, I mean, I think from ZeniMax's point of view, it was kind of really just done from a game.
Oh yeah, it was only a mechanic. I'm just talking from lore. That was it makes no sense. But I get it mechanic wise. You had 3 on one side, 3 on the other. Well, Argonians are nearby. It's like, turn that down there. But yeah, it's just one of those. It's man, when people, the slavery thing, that's a bad one. And I know as a guild leader, you've dealt with people who have, I mean, every sort of real world hang up or this or that, that somebody triggers them on, or that's their hot button topic or whatever, and then they lose their shit. It's like this, formerly perfectly, seemingly okay person is like, wow, you are really disrupting everything, because that is entirely not what that person meant in character, and it has, like what you were saying, earlier, Jazz, before you got here, Seb. Well, don't you know, like, something happens in character? Well, don't you know about that? Why would you say that when in my personal real life that this, and this is just like that? Why would you even go there? Well, because this, and this in the character's life has nothing to do with you. I may not have even known that. That stuff comes up a lot, it seems like, especially a lot more lately.
Well, I think it does. And I think part of what it comes back to is that, as role players, we try and say that we're, separate from our characters, that, there's that wall between in and out of character. Mm-hmm. But I think it's these hot button issues like this that prove that wall isn't nearly as thick as we like to tell ourselves that it is. And, people who are, and I guess the least offensive way I can say this is more sensitive than other people, when something like this comes along, they blow up and they run to me, the guild leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the sensitive is is a nice way to put it. That's not the way the other term a lot of people are using is snowflake these days. But and I get that everyone has their issues, but you are right. I think because everybody, we all like, I mean, I know I like to say that I know the difference between a character and OC, and I do know that. But sometimes, man, when your emotions get charged up or somebody makes a ridiculous accusation against you, those chemicals and dopamine hit and adrenaline hit your body. Because has anybody here? I doubt it's just me, but like when you go into a PvP fight in a game, or if you're really ramping it up, like in character, you and another character, Rengot, Seb, not Seb, Jazz. I know I've had this happen with you guys when our characters were really going at it. You get like an adrenaline rush, even though you're just typing and like OOC, totally cool.
You do.
There is an excitement that comes along with that, and I think some people, when it's that hot button topic, that it kicks in, and that adrenaline rush and that dopamine or whatever the chemical
and the
might
line disappears,
and the brain goes to the stupid zone, and they start talking.
It goes from a brick wall to a Japanese paper door.
Random
side note, exactly.
Random side note, Sabea, I'm your loyal roguish bandit ordinator, this initiate. All hail the Sibs. I'm just saying.
What a kiss ass! You get the guild.
Hey man, he's the end of serving at pain of death. He's either serving or he's dead. So you gotta do some kind of schmoozery.
I'm sorry. Can anybody? Oh, go ahead, Seb.
I was gonna tell Strafay he needs to wipe his nose off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I honestly I could barely hear him over the sound of all the ass kissing and vacuum sound. Just the sucking sound is just. Man.
Hey, man, I'm just going to props to the boss. That's all I'm doing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The other bosses in here, too. They can actually probably, Jazz, you and Seb, you could probably exchange stories on Strafay.
No, that's...
More than likely.
Hey, I ain't worried about that boss anymore, man. You don't run me.
You're not the boss of me. Right, boss?
Right, Jazz?
But, yeah, and that's that there is a rush to role playing, especially when things get tense and high and and all that stuff there. I don't know that a lot of us even ever have talked. Honestly, I'm not sure if we've even brought that up on the show, but it's just something that happens and we don't really think about it. But
I was gonna say, Unife in the chat, she put, like I said before, RP is a sort of safe haven to explore forbidden feelings and curiosity.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm not well said. I'm not a violent person, but my characters tend to be. You know, and I'll jump up in your face and threaten to punch you out or this or that, and you know, and maybe we have a duel. Even if it's left up to the rolls to see who wins, man, it's still a blood pumping ordeal. You know, it really can, especially if there's like, you know, your respect is on the line or this or that. But you still have to try and keep your cool. Like, you know, typically for me at this point, if I go into a fight and I lose, I'm prepared to lose. You know, I don't go into I'm not going to go into it if I'm not like of sound mind and I'm going to be really, really like shaky. Thankfully, I think I've moved beyond that. I don't really care. It just I understand now it makes for better role play later on. So it's cool. But yeah, I like what you say about that brick wall not being maybe as thick as we think of, Seb, because that morality. I mean, the morality we have in the real world, it cannot transfer over to the characters, or you can't take what a character says against your character and then internalize that in a way like that. It just, man, it's not healthy, and it's not gonna leave you with a lot of friends at the end of the day either.
No, it's not. But I also think it's impossible to ever truly remove all of ourselves from a character.
No, I mean it's like it's the write what you know. I mean, you can't write more than your personal experiences have allowed you to understand. So, what was that? Oh, I think
the puppy snoring underneath my chair.
I thought she snorted at something, but it turns out it was my dog snoring logs. But yeah, it can be it's just a rough ordeal, and you know, and unfortunately, then that's when guild leaders come in.
And that's why I would never want to be one. God bless you guys. Oh, that's all I gotta say. Because I could not do it.
You know what? It's when you're running Servants of the Tribunal is only maybe 50, 60 active people in total, maybe more now. But it's still, 10, 20-hour a week job sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jazz.
Oh yeah,
Jazz knows that. And you have, both of you guys have a lot of good people around you that help, keep everything steady and flowing, and even that. It's just when you put 50 people of anything into one room or one space, you're gonna have disagreements, and unfortunately, these days those things are the lines are fewer and fewer, and or the lines are closer and closer and fewer than far between. It just everything. There's always something that somebody's not gonna like. It's just impossible. It's when that many people, and that's
you
where
have
the
too
guild
many
leaders
different
come in.
personalities.
So, you got anything else you want to say, Seb, before we let you go?
No. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Well, I appreciate you coming on.
You
really,
so
I'm
much.
glad for your
see you,
input. And now my mouse isn't working. Where's my mouse at? So
Thank
I can't
you
get rid
so
of it.
much for
There we
calling
go.
in.
So yeah, appreciate you calling the show, Seb, and I'll see you in game later.
All right, see you in game later for some more ass kissing.
That's right.
Take care, boss.
Later. Oh, somebody moved something.
That's funny stuff.
Yeah,
That
that's
story she told though is just terrifying.
Terrifying for sure.
Yes.
It's that people can't separate that stuff, and I
don't know if I could log in after that. So if something like that happened to when I'm like, I would be like, I don't think I could go back.
Yeah, it would be rough, especially for the people running it. Well, like she said, I don't think they've done that in quite some time either. Because like when I first started playing, they were still doing those. I went to one or two of them and was like, it's not my bag, so I just didn't go. But I wasn't out there like, no, you can't do it. It was like, well, dress, they're house dress. Yep, they have a lot of slaves. Whether you like it or not, it's lore. They have slaves. Period. So, all right. So with that, let's go ahead and go back to our call lines real quick here, and
We
go
got
to
the guest today.
Yeah, I figured we would. Honestly, seems like I told you, kind of a hot button topic. Let's go to Insomniac. Appreciate you calling, Insomniac. How's it going?
Good, just chilling and eating. That's about it.
So,
Welcome, Insomniac.
yeah, appreciate you calling in. So what
see
you
you, bud.
got?
So my 2 cents is like this is on racism and even in the slavery stuff.
Okay.
I kind of think that with racism, people are afraid to step into those lines because it does cut off RP opportunities for some people. That's one of the huge things that I think is a factor to why people don't really RP it that much.
Yeah, I can see, because if you're like, I hate all, especially if you're open and public about it, you are going to lose the role play of those people with that race. But at the same time, there's more than one way to do that kind of stuff. Like my character, I still role play with all those, even though he thinks he's better than them, and he thinks they're all inferior. He still knows they have a use, and they can't help the way they were born.
Yeah, like one solution I have been doing, at least with my character, because in Red Guard culture, they have a very elitist attitude. Like the race literally just invaded Tamriel and killed everyone on their rightful lands.
Right. How
They are the Atlantean of Nuren, so there you go.
How dare that other race be there when we showed up? That's our
Dirty
land.
Dirty Needs got to go.
That's right.
But yeah, my solution was that I basically just kind of go for like very subtle racism stuff, like my character forgetting to address other nobles of other races by their proper titles.
Yeah, that was and you say that too. I had actually just learned. I was listening to somebody that wrote a book on. He actually went down to the South during the Jim Crow era. And he was a white guy, but he wanted to actually go. So that he was trying to. He went down there as a black man with somebody from the NAACP. He just had to make himself really, really tan and just say that he was light skinned. But there were a lot of ways that there was the racism of the fire hoses, dogs, and the police and things like. Everybody knows about all that stuff. But what he also had found out was the subtle racism, like when they. Remember this is, this was after World War II, so it was 40s and 50s when he did this. I wish I could remember his name. It was an unknown journalist. He's unknown today, but he was there like Cronkite and what's the guys that did Nixon? Jazz, you're old. Help me. The guys that Woodward and Bernstein.
There you go.
He was the Woodward and Bernstein of that time. But some of the racism that he came across was using the phone on the switchboard, and the switchboard operators, everybody else was yes ma'am, yes sir. If you came in sounding like you were black, you didn't get that respect. It was a small thing, but it was little things like that dehumanized them, and that he realized, like, if he went in there with like that movie that you got to talk in your white guy voice with Danny Glover recently.
Yeah.
But if they went in there with the oh shucks kind of thing, well, how can I help you? No, we don't have that line available. There was no politeness, there was no civility. It was a very subtle. So things like that, what you're saying, Insomniac, that's a really great way to be. Show that you're racist, but, instead of calling him Lord Trithalis, you just like, hey, Trithalis, which some people might notice is what my character does.
That's what he does.
He doesn't always call you Lord. Most of the time, if he does, it's sarcastic.
Wrath, on the other hand, will call everybody Lord or Lady, even if they tell him not to.
Yeah, he's an ass kisser. We just heard that.
Well, no, it's he's trying to maintain a whole level of civility he lost a long time ago. So it's an imaginary thing for him. Yep, shut up. Hey, man.
Just don't French kiss it. That's all I'm asking.
Oh God.
So Insomniac, what are there other things that you do as well to kind of show that?
Well, of course, my character is pretty dismissive at times, and is in general very blunt.
Yeah, That, yeah, all good. It's just you know, you don't have to be like, well, I hate all them orcses, you know. It's
but there's also another issue I see with some racism in RP. Some people go way too far with it. Like they just to the point where it's just like, are you really? You're not trying. You're trying a bit too hard, man.
It becomes a character.
It becomes a meme.
Yeah, it's a character of it, and I wonder sometimes if that's just because they know what racism is, but they're not aware of the people that don't see that, because there's a lot of places throughout the country and throughout the world that the subtle racism of one of the things Bill Maher had said, it's the subtle racism of low expectations. And I mean, I may not agree with a lot of things Bill Maher says, but that right there is kind of, it's people that are like, well, I mean, they can't. Those people, we can't ask them to do that because they don't have the ability to go and do that stuff. Well, that's kind of racist, isn't it? It's just, over-explaining things to somebody, because you're slow. I mean, look at you. You're you. I'm sorry. You're adorable, though.
Bless your heart.
Yes, it's the whole sudden. Bless your heart. You're so cute. Look, he thinks he's people. But yeah, that's it. That's the people that go over the top where it becomes that. I know we keep using the black, but it's the one thing everyone knows. Those old characters. They
take it to the cringe factor up to the max.
Yeah, the old, the blackface characters they drew back in the 50s and stuff like that, or the Disney Song of the South.
We don't like your kind around here.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's like, well, let's Zippity Doo Dah Zippity A is a great song. Notice they don't actually produce the movie anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, that's because that was bad, and they realized that very quickly after things turned in the 60s.
It's still, I mean, it's just that age of people.
They're not dead yet.
No,
they're not.
No, trust me. I ran into it a couple months back on my mail route, and I just walked away. I was like, I had a lady. This is horrible. She was an older lady, probably I'd say 70s, 80s, and I was delivering her mail, and she came out and she was talking to me, and they have young Mexican guys that go and do their lawn stuff, and she come out there and she just starts, I mean, just griping about him, and the next words out of her mouth after she was griping about him, and I was trying to hurry and get done with my delivery because it's a cluster box, so there's like 8 boxes in there that I have to put the mail in, and she said, "Can you believe those Mexicans?" And I was like, I have to go. I'm like, I just walked away. I'm like,
just like, I don't know what to say to that.
I'm like, yeah, but it
is true.
Ingrained in them.
Down in the McAllen when I was going to undergrad, we would always have the Winter Texans roll in, and they're old retirees, certain demographic, and they would treat everybody down there like they were freaking south of the border, when in actuality they were all Texans and Americans, and just looking at them like, what the crap? You guys come here every year acting fools. I mean, it's a weird dichotomy to see it, and I saw it.
It is, and it's to be faced with it. It's
when you hit it for real, man. It's soul shaking. It really is.
Because I didn't know what to say. All I could do is I
gotta go.
Was like, I just slammed the box shut, and I was like, I gotta go. I'm sorry, I gotta go.
You know what she did, Ashen?
Nothing else.
No.
You remember Mass Effect 1 where it's like, I should go, and those creepy eyes turn to the side and walk off screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, basically.
That.
It's like, and they're gone. Where'd they go? But yeah.
It's just really, it was frustrating, too, to actually, see it.
Yeah, and hear it. And
Because
just
you don't want to see it. You don't want to believe it.
those guys are out there. That's their job. They, we know they're... Out here in Oklahoma, there's plenty of Hispanic people, Mexican people, Asian people.
Yeah.
Being mailman, trust me, we see them all because they're always blocking the fucking boxes. And that's why I hate all landscape people equally, because they're all assholes that block the box. So
it's just, you don't want to see it in your entertainment, but you do. I mean,
yeah,
you see it in movies and stuff, but it's there. But it's
in movies and that's the thing, and in text chat and things like that, it's not so bad. It really it's you understand it, you get like that's. But when you're faced with it, but that's, I think, what Insomniac was saying, the ones that go overboard, they've never met that. They've never met somebody that just casually says, "Can you believe those Mexicans?"
Yeah.
Or the guy I had, it's those damn enters always blocking the mailbox. It's not my fault. Those enters are always putting their car right there, and he's shouting and yelling and getting in my face. I was like, oh, all right, here's how this is gonna go, buddy. But it took me. I mean, I threatened to hold that guy's mail permanently. I would have fought tooth and nail with the postal inspector to never let that house, as long as he lived in it, ever get another piece of mail if he hadn't apologized and backed off. And it doesn't. I mean, from then on, trust me, I knew who he was. I just did my job. Mail carrier.
Let me tell you what, we could deny you service.
There's very rarely, but there are people that are bad enough. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a lot of where they just don't know how to do it. So it's the character. They just overdo it. Yeah. When really just realizing that real racism and things like that, if you're going to play it, it's just part of them. It's not a plot point it's just there. It's always, it's a passive skill, not an active skill, to use gaming terms. Does that sound about right, Insomniac?
Yep.
That is about right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a rant.
Hey, it's all good.
Yeah.
The more discussion, the better. Anyhow, there's also the slavery thing. Admittedly, I am not a fan of role playing it, and if I have an option to ignore it, I will. Mm-hmm. Though I've played in other games that do have that as something literally just casual and even part of the game mechanics. A.K.A. Conan Exiles.
Yeah, dragging somebody around by a really wonky, badly graphic rope. Yeah.
And well, sometimes I just drop. Sometimes I just straight up drop like, whatever. I can still. But I just don't RP it as something like, it's like everyone.
Exactly.
It's just part of that freaking world. That's basically how I treat it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm the same way with that. I don't mind it that people are role playing it around me. I don't really care. I just try not to participate if I don't have to. And if I do, I will. It's just the character. It's not me. It's not something I enjoy. It's just like any role play. If you don't enjoy it, I don't enjoy role playing having babies in character either. So guess what I don't do? I don't have babies, and when other people come around with their pretend kids, I just I do the bare minimum required, and if it keeps going, then I'll be like, I'm gonna bounce. Whatever. It's the same deal. Racism and kids, they're all awful.
He's anti-baby and halfling. I'm seeing a pattern here, bro.
Mm-hmm. Halflings are the worst. So you got anything else for Insomniac before we let you go?
That's all I got so far. That's kind of just my 2 cents.
No, well, I appreciate you calling in. It's always
thanks for giving it to us.
Yeah,
thank you.
We will take whatever money you want to give us. I mean, whatever ideas you want to give us. All right. Well, you
at least it wasn't 1 cent.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got both of them.
We would take the 1 cent. We don't care.
We would take the 1 cent.
We appreciate it.
All right, Insomniac. Appreciate you calling RPMO Radio, man, and you have a good night.
You have a good one too.
Thank you.
All
Take
right,
care, Insomniac.
So I know we're going way over, but I'll be honest, I figured we would.
Oh wow!
Just because of this
even
topic,
know what time it
right?
was.
I know we're already half hour over, and we're so we've only got like kind of 2 parts left. We pretty much are we good on slavery? Jazz hit her BDSM stuff on there, and I think everything else got covered, which was a good point. What you said, Jazz. It's slavery for the most of time, except for the last 200 years, has always been about labor. Have you been to Egypt? Have you seen those pyramids? That wasn't done with sex slaves.
Yeah.
No, and it actually was done by hired professionals, so they weren't even slaves.
Right.
But yeah.
But somebody had to move those quarried stones far, far away.
Well, I'm sure that was done by slaves. Yes.
Ashton, clearly, those documentaries told us that they were space aliens built them, right?
Well, I mean, obviously, it was Hail Raw. So one of the other ones, before we get to just a few little individual hang-up things, the other one that's kind of a biggie is sexism.
I'm revving up.
This one we've actually had some bouts with recently on various things.
Today. You can say today.
Today.
But yeah, regularly.
Maybe about 2 hours before the show started, in fact.
Ouch.
But the sexism thing, it sorry, I don't know if somebody was... never mind. Thought someone was going to hack on the floor. It turns out they were just sneezing very weirdly. We're watching my mom's 2 dogs, and we're not used to their noise patterns.
Oh. But they are sweethearts.
Yeah, especially Tripod Snicker. He's only got 3 legs. Poor little guy. He got hit by a car in front of her beauty salon, and she rescued him. They had to take the leg, but he's good.
Yeah, it's funny because all 4 of them, R2 and her 2, are about the same size. They're just all different breeds.
Yeah.
We got.
Real quick. All right, see this one here? This is Peanut. He's a Dachshund and Pomeranian mix, which is why he looks like a wiener dog, but he's got the hair of a pom-pom. And
that's adorable.
His breath is terrible. It's like the wind off of a landfill. So, sexism, not adorable dogs. This one can be a bit harder. In the role play sense, it doesn't seem to come up game wise.
No.
However, as we found out recently, it does come up a lot. OOC. But sticking with the RP part real quick with this, there's not, I think part of this is there isn't a big difference in body types in MMOs. Most of us look pretty hot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 6 packs.
Even the fat ones are cute.
Yeah, even the fat ones can be made to look pretty good. Everybody's can have big boobs and a big old ghetto booty and the thin waist, the big hips and the large manly arms and the thighs that you could crack a walnut. And
Sasha.
and a buttocks you could bounce quarters off of for days.
Gosh.
Yes.
Just saying, roller quarters will go pretty far. However, there are still some of that manage to kind of overdo this with the things like we said with sex slaves. I'm not even sure. I can't even come up with something clever that would excuse slames. And seemingly no end of people willing to play the subservient role. And if that's what they're into, that's cool.
It's their dollar. They can spend it however they want in the game. But don't try to tell me that it's lore because it bugs me.
Right. But you can't force it on anybody else. And if they tell you no, it's just dumb, I don't really want to deal with it. Okay, well, but most people, for me, I don't even say anything. I just roll my eyes and I move on. When I see a player doing the Princess Leia to Luke Skywalker's leg on the poster of the original Star Wars films, I just oh, okay. I mean, I get it. It was good for Star Wars, but you, sir, are no Princess Leia. And I mean that because it's probably a dude playing her.
Yeah, I had it was brought up to one of my characters about sexual discrimination, and she was like, "Sexual what?"
Yes. Yeah, and that was...
She was like, what? And this person was like, you know what I'm talking about. She goes, no, I really don't. What are you talking about? Because why would she in this world? And
the HR terms of sexual harassment don't exist.
He's sexually harassing me. What?
No. You mean...
Did you say no? Yes. Did he stop? Yes. What's the problem?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how she looks at it. And I think anybody growing up in this world, men are pigs and women know that. And they handled it as best they could under the situation, especially depending on, of course, the culture that we're talking about. There's a certain amount of autonomy for the genders, but it still exists there. And it's not something people are sexual harassment. I'm going to sue you and you'll be fired. I'm a noble. I'm pretty sure I can't be fired.
I'm pretty sure you work for me. Without me being a noble paying your peasant salary and lodgings, you starve to death on the streets. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
And
so
the other thing here, real quick, before we get onto the, because trust me, we're probably going to go off on the deep end on this one. With a lot of fantasy though, outside of clothing, bikini bras. Just saying, Antonia Bale, which I hear, by the way, is Sid, back me up, rather stuffed.
I heard from.
I heard from one of the candidates.
I heard from Miss Bellows. It's padded.
Padded. That was it. Yeah. She overpads it. Lifts and separates. But really, like the genders tend to be on equal footing in a lot of ways. I mean, like Tarvala, she's big, she's strong, but when it comes to a lot of fantasy stuff, we see it in novels and in movies and TV shows. The whole there's very little difference between the genders thing. It's a lot easier to get away with. That you can overcome it with training. Like for me, just personally, Strafe, back me up. You and I together, not going up against Ronda Rousey.
No.
Not unless you're first and I'm running the other direction while she pounds you into dust. That woman can take you down with a napkin. It's just it's not going to go well for you. But with Sib here, I'm stronger than she is. It doesn't take much for me just to hold her at the top of the head while she swinging at my middle. It's there are difference between the sexes like that, but when it comes to the sexism and roleplay, the combat ability is not usually one that typically comes up, just because.
No, you don't even see it because you have women and men in command. So obviously they've gotten past that part. As long as you can hold your own,
right? Yeah, and
you're golden.
It doesn't come up really. The other part, however, comes in with, unfortunately, people's inability to do this out of character. That it's funny enough that we can separate all this stuff in character and like that. That they you can do that stuff, and some people might even play the slaps the barmaiden on the ass and Jazz, that story you had where someone patted you on the head and she pulled a knife on him and he backed away, that kind of stuff. But things like that happen in the real world. I saw a video recently where some dude patted a girl on the ass and she had him in a arm bar in like a second.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
His face was his face is smashed up against the bar counter, and she's like, "Touch me again." I was like, "That was
girl.
awesome. Do it again."
I watched that like 4 times in a row. I was just like, "This is awesome. Look at her moves. She's pretty good."
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It can happen, but a lot of times that can also go the other way. And that's sexism is it's obviously in real world it's not a good thing. You don't want to there's plenty of other reason to hate the other gender. Like I said, they're idiots. It's date them for that, not just because they've got one body part or another. Jazz, you got a little bit you wrote on this. I see.
I have paragraph. Yeah, just a little bit. Okay, now before I start this, I want to say I am queer. I am an older lady. I have done and been there and done that.
Yeah,
we heard. Most people blush. So I want you to understand that I'm coming from. Yes, be quiet. I am coming from someplace that is not like some pristine white person who's never done anything. And I deal with this in game every single day. It drives me crazy. In game, people are slaves. There's, how do you become a vampire? Anyone? I mean, rape is a thing. Women being chattel, less equal. There is that in game. You see it sometimes in some of the comments that people make. More so in some races than other races. But the biggest area I think that we are faltering on right now is because the LGBT battle is raging in our own country, in the United States. And even in other states, other countries. It's like a battleground thing.
Ask the Russian gays and lesbians that can't get driver's license.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's the battlefront topic. And so when you get in game, you see it because people are trying to create it in game. Now, in game, you find out that it's open. He likes men, but he's, going to have to get married and have a kid someday. so there's obviously it's not as much of a hang up to them. It's just kind of like something you do, but you still have to have an heir, so get busy.
Right.
Very Roman, by the way.
Very
Romans
Game of Thrones, yeah.
It's very Roman and Greek. They had a very open idea about homosexuality. It was just something that happened. It was just part of growing up. But in the end, you still had to get married and have kids because heirs. So it was very different from the way it is now. And when in game, people are trying to put in terms and concepts and acceptableness about things that don't exist. And I understand why. I do, because as a queer person, I constantly have to bite my tongue because people see me married to a man with 4 kids and they think I'm, Holly Homemaker, non-homosexual.
Heterosexual.
And
Clearly,
heterosexual.
you're a dark elf in disguise, and I was.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, we all
They
know
have
that.
no idea who I came from. And the other day, my kids asked me something and I had to answer it. And they just looked at me. And Nathan goes, I see you a whole different way now, Mom. Good. Keep that in mind. So I mean, it's one of those things, but expecting people to have the same concepts of gender fluidity, transgender, and all of that in game is so irritating.
It's freaking weird too.
And it crosses a line too, because if your character like for me, Jazz, what do you think I think about LGBT?
You personally, you really just don't want to hear about it, but you're fine with it.
Yeah, I don't care. I just don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just I feel the same way about somebody that's gay, lesbian, or whatever else as I do about a straight person. Good. I don't want to hear about it. It's gross either way. I don't want to hear about other people having sex even if they're straight. It's gross. I mean, look at you. Why would I want to know that?
My brain.
I just don't care. So when somebody does that in character, if your character says something about it, the problem that often comes about is they take it OOC because they're not playing their character; they're playing them part of a big and sometimes a misunderstood or still figuring out part of themselves. I'm obviously I'm not gay. I've never really had the struggle of being like, I don't know. I saw a dick, looked pretty good. I've never had that struggle. I've always liked women. I just like the figures much better.
So much.
but I've never had that. I've never had to do that the mental struggle or feeling like you need to hide who you are.
Right, because I lived in the closet for 20 years.
Yeah.
So, I understand why they were acting the way they are, sort of. But I also know that is that, and this is the game.
That
you
may
need
not
to keep that line there.
May not be the place to explore that part of your real world personality.
Well, you can explore it all you want. I mean, we have a character that is.
What I mean. Explore it, and if someone go, that's what I mean. If you're exploring that in character, and then somebody takes it, someone else's character doesn't go along with it. That's what we always say. Why you don't play yourself? It feels like a direct attack on yourself, even though it's just on the character. They might not even, and more than likely, unless you already know them, they may not know what you're going through or that you're doing that. They just think your character. For all they know, that you're just made up something to just because. Why not? Yeah.
And like when my character was presented with someone who was transgender, who has a magical ring, who turns them from one gender to another, and wanted Zasher to call him brother, sister, or sister, brother. And he said, tell you what, when you look like a girl, I'll call you sister. And when you look like a boy, I'll call you brother. And he went back to eating.
Mm-hmm.
To him, it's very simple, but she kept hammering on it. He just ignored her.
Yeah.
And Celie, I know it upset them. And I felt bad, but I'm not going to Celie explain myself because it was IC.
Yeah.
And I know that most people, when I play my various characters, have no idea that I'm queer. I don't sit there and say, hi, queer person here. I mean, I don't do that.
Which, unfortunately, for a lot of things, kind of puts you in the minority on that one.
Yeah, it does, because I don't feel it's anybody else's business what I want in the bedroom. And it doesn't affect my real life, because I still have to raise my kids and go to work. And the only time that it really comes into play is like some of my clients are struggling with their sexuality, and I can empathize with them and I can talk to them about it, and it helps because
Right.
they don't feel like I'm just clueless. I'm not just being nice and patting them on their head. I honestly understand. So in that sense, it's helpful. But in roleplay, it doesn't have any place there. And frankly, I spend 75 to 80% of my day dealing with the fact that I'm queer and most people are not. I don't need to address that in a game.
Yeah.
It's too annoying. So I just want to leave it. Let me just play my game.
Yeah.
And I understand that there's a lot of people like you, Ashen, that don't want to see it anyway, and then to have it thrust in their face in a game
And
is
almost every
equally
time-
upsetting.
At this point, just because of the way it's, some of it has, and I get it, you know, like for me, I'm always of the, you can't make other, you know, it's the same way I am with the way religion was looked at. Like, you're forcing Jesus down my throat. No, I'm not really for that either. You know, I don't want some guy in my face, are you saved by Jesus? Are you saved? Are you saved? Are you saved? Over and over and over and over again. Any more than I want, you have to accept me. You have to accept me. It's like, I already accept you. Why are you shouting at me? I'm already saved. Why do you keep, what? Leave me alone.
It's the same thing. It is. It's the
Extreme
same thing.
elements-
Just leave me alone and let me live my life.
Extreme elements of any type are always going to be in your face.
Yeah.
Sadly.
And I have that same reaction to religious people who walk up to me in a freaking store, grab my hand and said, "Do you know Jesus?"
All I can ever
I said,
hear
"Yeah,
when I
he
hear
picks
that,
my carrots. Let go of my hand."
I don't. He picks my carrots. Wow, racist. Am I right? Them Mexicans, huh, Jazz?
Dang, Jazz.
I was in such a bad mood. He picked me on a bad day, and he just looked at me, and this lady who lived where I know her actually, so it was actually even more funny. She laughed so hard she almost peed herself. She's Mexican. She was just like, she got it. The guy didn't.
Yeah.
That's Jesus, man.
How
Come
does
on,
Jesus
right.
have anything to do with your carrots? He missed it completely. And yeah.
I'll be honest. I remember the first time I worked at Price Mart as a grocery store. It was 15 and a half, 16. I remember the first time I saw the name Jesus. I was like, is that guy really named Jesus? I'd never, I mean, I'd heard the word, I'd heard the name Jesus. I'd never seen it spelled. I'm like, and they're like, that's Mike, that's Jesus. I'm like, but it's a J. Yeah, but the J sounds like an H, like in jalapeno.
Yep.
Oh, I'm smart.
I thought it was a jalapeno.
Jalapeno. Some people say it like that, by the way.
Jalapenos.
Yeah, well, some people say, you know, aluminium doesn't make them right.
Aluminium? What?
British.
Aluminium.
Yeah, instead of aluminum.
Aluminum
the whole.
instead of
It's made of
aluminium.
aluminium.
Or if you're Jean-Luc Picard, it's a schedule. You know, it's that kind of thing.
As he pulls his red
So
shirt
anyway,
down.
so with what you were saying, Jazz, it's, you know, and I get that it's the sexism thing and sexuality and all that. It can get, not to put too fine a point, it gets sticky.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't really how I meant that, but it's still the word I'm using. But it's you know, I know we've had it's been a problem with people taking the in character stuff of what they're doing, and it's what we were saying earlier about the, well, how dare you could say that, you know, I'm going through this and this. It's like, well, yeah, but that's
And
you.
we get that constantly. How could you say this to my character? You know he has these issues. What? Dude, how does my character even know that, first of all? Second of all, that's OC. Third of all, go away.
Yeah.
I have to wonder if it's a lot of, because I know we've talked about this in past episodes, but some of these games, that is their life.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and
That
that's
is-
my problem. Yes.
You know, that is what they live to do. This is what, you know, keeps them going every day.
Yeah.
So it's, you have to wonder if that's, you know,
I'm sure it is. I'm sure
There
this
is
is their social outlet, and they have a special point in their heart of showing
Yeah.
people the way.
To
or
some
however
people,
you
it
wanna talk
really,
about it.
you know, and just from when Insomniac in the chat was saying, just creating a character, creating a character as just gay is one dimensional, especially if they're like, by the way, I'm gay in every RP line, you know, and if every other word out of their mouth is to remind you of that, you're not really playing the character, you're playing a part. You know, it's,
Well, that goes back. Or
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, what I was getting at is it can also get very one dimensional. That is I'm just gonna assume with this, Jazz, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or right. I'm fine with that. But being, your sexuality, like for me being straight, it's a passive ability. It's just something that's always on.
Yeah.
Passive ability. I love it.
That is actually a very good way to put it. I am queer. I have been queer my whole life. I knew it by the time I was 6 years old. I always knew I was different. It's not something that I chose, and my mother constantly threw that at me. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I chose to be hated. Yeah, that's something I do.
So for you, you see Jason Statham on the stream, and you're like, bite off a piece of that. And at the same time, you go and see Avengers, and you're like, and you see, Scarlett Johansson, and you're like, oh man, that Russian.
Totally.
It's just on. It's just like, but then again,
my husband leans over and goes, honey, you're sweating. Shut up.
And then at the same time you see, Jack Black, and you're like, oh, he's funny.
Yeah.
He's got a great personality.
I really love the way you put that. It's a passive ability. For those of us that play games, that really kind of puts it succinctly. It's a passive ability. It's part of who I am. I have red hair. I have freckles. I'm
whatever
weird.
eye color, your height.
I have blue eyes. I'm 5'4". These are all passive things that exist, and it doesn't mean that I roll a character just for those things. I roll a character who's a killer or a sociopath, or I tend to do that a lot, don't I?
You do say that an awful lot.
That's not who my character is. It's part of who my character is, but it's not the defining moment. And people, it's kind of the same thing, and I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. In BDSM, you have people who say they are masters, and you have people who are submissive. Supposedly it's one or the other. I'm a switch. Surprise! I'm in both. Everyone is shocked.
What a shock you're by.
I know, right? So why wouldn't I be a switch? Anyway, people would a lot of this happens on the internet because it's one of the safe places for us to meet, and make arrangements for actual meeting in person so that we don't get busted. And you always had these people whose names were Master Thompson the Great or Master Black or whatever, right? And my husband always laughed because his was, let's say, I think it was Soltavi back then. And people were like, are you a master or a sub? And he's like, well, you'll have to find out when you meet me. And he always said, anybody that has to put master in their name isn't one.
I was just going to say, that's...
And if you...
It's the guys it's the BDSM version of the gamers that say Pussy Slayer 69 as the name tag. No,
exactly.
You're not.
No, you're not. You're like 12. Get over it. Yeah, no, if you have to put it out there all the time, then maybe you need to re-examine why it's so important for you to be doing that. Because part of being a 4-dimensional character is to build your character and build yourself, because in a way you're learning how to build your own personality in many ways, especially among the community who struggles so hard. We're all damaged. Many of us come from horrible places. We have post-traumatic stress disorder. We're handicapped in one way or another. We're struggling
social
to fit
anxieties,
in. Social anxiety, all that stuff. And so we're already damaged or broken or not quite right. And so we're built and perfect. And we make people, why do we need to also say, and I'm gay, and his name is this, and he has pink hair, and he walks around and flounces around? Okay, I get it. Can you stop?
Yeah. Well, and
I'm queer. It just gets on my nerve.
Yeah. Rahanar says, the gay passive, by the way, gives plus 100 to fashion designing.
Probably not wrong.
Probably not wrong. So yeah, I think, it's a tough one, and I get it. And if we've offended anybody, grow thicker skin. It's just,
grow up, noob.
This is reality. This is we're having an adult, quote unquote, an adult conversation about this stuff, and it's one of those things that pisses me off is what we hear. Well, we need to have a conversation about race. Well, we need to have a conversation about lesbianism or LGBT. And you know what? We're trying to have that conversation, but every time somebody opens their mouth that doesn't agree with one side or the other, you start shouting and nobody can talk.
And then you form a lynch mob trying to burn down the event.
Right. And this is having an actual conversation. Guess what? They're not comfortable. You think I'm not being a gay person and the atmosphere that the country is in? Do you think this is a comfortable conversation for me? No. You think this, like, I don't, it's somebody that just doesn't care about what you are, but it's important to still have. Nobody learns from each other if you don't talk to each other. And that's why we all, honestly, Jazz took this far farther than even I had planned to on the whole going into the LGBT stuff. And she's absolutely right. And if you don't agree with that, you're allowed to not agree with her. It doesn't make her wrong, and it doesn't necessarily make you right or you're wrong and she's right. You guys might have a difference of opinion, because trust me, believe it or not, I have heard that not every group of people all thinks exactly the same, even if it's LGBT, Republican, Democrat, straight, Canadian, whatever.
Canadian.
You don't all think alike. You're going to have different, and I've heard people, there's conservative, for example, there's a lot of conservative gay people. And there's a lot of conservative people that go to church, even though that church might not marry them. Or gay people that go to church, and the church may not ever let them be married because that's just what the doctrine says, and they'll accept that. Doesn't mean it may be wrong, it may be right, but that's what they accept. And maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you don't want that to happen. That's fine. But you know what won't ever fix anything? Shouting at them and telling them that they're wrong and they're racist and they're homophobes. Doesn't get you anywhere. And there are some out there, but unfortunately, it's not everybody that opens their mouth and just was like, well, what about, you can't do that. It doesn't work.
What?
And it sucks, but
That's big.
Oh, I think you're cutting out a little bit there, Jazz.
Probably.
Yeah, she says with scorn in her voice.
And much agina.
Fucking windstream.
Oh,
Need to cut a clip of the show every time you try to talk like that and hashtag windstream.
You
This
should.
is your fault. Why do you hate gay people?
What I say to people is when they don't agree, it's like, I had a friend of mine who's very anti-gay, and I would go so far as to call him a homophobic person.
Mm-hmm.
But wait, was he afraid of you, or just was he a hater?
He's actually seems to be afraid of them. The way he reacts when he sees gay people with rage and hate and just don't let them touch me. They can't touch me. And
okay, yeah, that would be
That's
that
a
would be an
homophobe.
accurate statement. Yeah.
So he's a homophobe. He's terrified of gay people and doesn't think that they should be allowed to live. He's very, very, very extreme.
Well, Saudi Arabia's got lots of territory for him to live in, I guess.
And I told him, I said, "What does it make?" Because he was like, "It's not a choice. I mean, it is a choice, and they can." I said, even if that's true, when I told you that I was no longer this other name, I was Jazz. You called me Jazz. Why? He says, "Well, you wanted to change your name." I said, "Then what does it matter what my sexuality is?"
Yeah,
it's my choice, one way or the other, to live my life this way. And why can't you just accept it? It's not hurting you.
Yeah. Well,
and that same thing comes down to names or anything else. It's just we have to learn to live and let live.
And for some people, it might be a choice, and for others, that's the thing. Nobody really knows, and it's for me, it's probably both. I think some people might be like, "Yeah, I could do that," and other people like, My viewpoint on being gay is, especially for as hard as that lifestyle is, and as many as who would choose that? Like, why would I mean, some people they might. But like the for how it's been throughout history is being in the closet, pretending. Caitlyn Jenner, for example, being an Olympic athlete while feeling the way that guy did all those years. I have nothing but sympathy for the poor guy or gal now. That had to be who would choose. Like, if that was a choice, man, you have some terrible choices in your life. You really probably should look back on that. But clearly, that was something just deep down inside. And okay, all right. I mean, you don't make a very pretty woman, but if that's what you want to be, fine. I mean, don't tell me I have to say that you're sexy, because frankly, you're not. But
Dead Adam's apple, bro. I saw that on Time magazine. It's like, oh God, get it off.
Yeah, but you know what? If If they're happy now,
hey man,
okay, whatever makes you happy. That's cool. I'm good with that.
Majority of people fall on that spectrum. Where, and I mean, because I was bi, I lived in the closet pretty easily because obviously I could go either way, and if I went straight, quote unquote, no one knew.
So say with your husband.
Yeah, and so and so I lived that way for a long time until I met Jay. Really was when things changed, and he was like, "But if you're like that, why aren't you living like that?" And he really challenged me to ask myself, was I happy? And I said, well, no, but I don't have a choice, because you do have a choice. Your mother's a harpy. Live the way you want.
Not wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
He's not wrong.
You know, and so we've always been open, and we've always been, we were started off BDSM, and then of course the Iowa laws scared the shit out of us because we had kids, and so we stopped that. But, he's been my biggest advocate in saying you have to be happy. If you're not happy and you're miserable, why in the world would you do that to yourself? And I think that that's the thing. I do know a guy who chose to be gay, but he was so physically and sexually abused by a woman most of his life, he couldn't even think about having a relationship.
A normal relationship, yeah.
And so
it's like that. It's like that's the. It's like Family Guy.
Has no regrets, and he's happy. So why does it matter why he's gay? He's gay out of his own desires, and that's important. And when it comes right down to it, in game or not, it doesn't matter if you believe it's a choice. It doesn't matter if you believe they're born that way. It doesn't matter if they want to be pink, blue with green hair and call themselves Dixie Daisy.
But stop bringing that crap into roleplay, because I really want to stomp a mud hole in these idiots. I really do. It pisses me off.
They just need to let people be and stop throwing it in everyone's faces, because it's not helping.
The whole do unto
others. It's
others.
actually doing the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah. Do unto others as you'd have do unto them. If you don't want to have somebody telling you how your lifestyle is wrong, don't be shoving in the reverse in someone's face either. If somebody's pushing on you, obviously you can push back. I'm just saying.
And I've said to more than one person, dude, I don't care.
Yeah,
RP whatever you want. That's fine. And I was accused of, on more than one occasion throughout my life that I hate gay people, which always
I'll be honest with
laugh
you,
and cracks me up.
I'll be honest with all of you. I hate vampire werewolf roleplay a lot more than I hate the gay stuff.
Preach it, bro. Preach it all day.
If there's something I'm gonna be like, you can never roleplay this again, it's gonna be vampires and werewolves. I'm sorry.
Amen.
You being gay, I don't even care about that. But this werewolf shit, man.
Throw an imagination, dude.
So all right.
What Sister Faye just said is what I've been thinking when we've been discussing this. Do you think it comes down to they don't have an imagination, and that's why they take more of their real life stuff into the games?
Plus, well, like I said, this is a hot button topic. A lot of people who are homosexual or gay or bi or whatever have lost their family. They've lost a lot because of who they are.
It's not an easy road.
Yeah, and
I'll give them that.
So they bring it in here because they're trying to make a difference, and but they also have to understand that there's a lot of people who are just so tired of seeing it. And I'm queer, and I'm tired of seeing it every day, and I want to come into the game and just have fun. And I don't care if you're gay. Yeah. I don't care if you fuck dogs, honestly, in the game.
Oh God.
In real life,
wait,
yes.
If you had a sighting of the dog catcher, have you seen him?
I love that you use that, because really, I don't care what you do in game. If it's gross, I won't roleplay with you. Right. We came across a guy that roleplayed having sex with kids. It was disgusting. He got ran out of the game. And I was just, I avoided him because I found it uncomfortable. If something makes you uncomfortable in a game and you're role-playing it, don't say, you need to accept me as a gay person. Just role-play somewhere else. Or don't talk to them and don't engage them. If you think that they don't accept who you are and you don't like the fact that they don't accept who you are, okay, why does it matter to you? Just ignore them and move on with your life.
Yep. And that's how a lot of it works.
At some point, these people got to realize that they are literally inflicting their misery from the real world on us, trying to get a little bit of escapism. And,
I mean, go
ahead, bro.
Go ahead. No, you go.
I lost it. Go.
I was just gonna say, if you're doing it for your cause, you're not helping your cause. It's the same. It's the same. Like I was saying with the religion, because it's kind of reversed now. The way the militant religious people are always doing that stuff. It backfires. It goes, you know, it goes badly. It doesn't go overly well. Yeah, I know. I understand, Ron. If you have to go, I know we're really long on this one.
Pushed it all the way to 10, bro.
Yeah. So real quick, let's go ahead and grab these the modern hangups. Moving on from that, I think we've said probably and offended enough people for the moment. Like I said, get over it. Modern hangups and things like that that you bring into your characters in your role play. Just real quick stuff. Worrying about pollution. Modern day, yeah, that's kind of a big deal. Even that, only the last 100 to 50 years, and we didn't really. If you're in China, they don't care.
Yeah,
they're not
even now.
Right. Another one, smoking, and this one I have personal. You remember Vinka, Jazz?
Yeah.
Well, there was a time when Xanis was rolling up cigarettes and stuff like that. You know, like in AQ2, it was just a funny little quirk I gave him for a little while. And she would always, like, pull them out of his mouth and stomp them and things like that. Now, why would somebody do that?
Well, because it stinks.
In character. Like, you have to think of it. This is in EverQuest. This is like pipe tobacco, that stuff that smells sweet and things like that. You know, it's not a Marlboro.
Yeah.
You know, there's no chemicals. It's the same. It's kind of like the pipe weed they smoke in The Hobbit and stuff like that. It's very scented. It's very fragrant. It doesn't have, 1,800 carcinogenics in it because they don't know what the word carcinogenic is.
Not only that, but it's not a hybrid tobacco. It's just tobacco.
Yeah, it's fresh tobacco. But because of the real world morality against smoking, she kept saying it was bad, and I'm like, I can't. It's not a Marlboro. He's not going down to the 7-Eleven and picking these things out and throwing the filter on the ground. He rolls it. I couldn't get her as smart as she was. I couldn't get her. It just wasn't a concept they were willing to accept. It's like, well, that's a modern hang up. You can't bring, smoking is usually accepted in most fantasy games.
Or like drinking in pregnancy. They've always known that smoking and drinking was bad for you. I mean, healers said that years, healers and tribals were like, don't overdo it. There's a reason why you cough when you're done.
Yeah.
It's probably not good for you. Don't overdo it. But they didn't know about the carcinogens and everything else. All they knew is if you smoked a whole bunch, you ended up coughing yourself to death. Yeah. That's really all they knew.
Or you're ended up with a slightly not so intelligent baby.
Right. If you drink too much, your kid will be born stupid. That was what the saying was. We didn't know back then all the other stuff.
Yeah, and I just saw a study. They did a test on breast milk that if you smoke pot, it could be in the milk up to I think a week. They said.
Yeah.
And you're
so you can't do that.
Right.
You're giving that to your kid, and that's not okay.
But
we didn't know that back then.
Right. That's a modern day hang up. That's science. We know that. Yes. And obviously you shouldn't do that. In a game, man, be a terrible mother. Go for it. It's a fake kid. It doesn't even exist. Who gives a shit? I mean, seriously. It doesn't exist.
When I had my kid in game, smoke, she didn't drink. Because her midwife said it's probably not good for the baby. Don't have more than a glass.
There you go.
And that made sense because that is what they used to tell pregnant women. And that's kind of my thing. Because I played a lot of healers and I know a lot about medical stuff. Some things drive me crazy that people don't know about the body. And they also take, like you said, modern diseases and the information that we have on modern diseases and using words like genetics, which doesn't exist.
DNA. Yeah.
DNA. It's in my DNA.
Because you realize the kind of powerful just science behind that, right?
I mean, DNA, we didn't even know what DNA was until the last century.
I was going to say, I think that was discovered, like fully discovered in my lifetime. I'm only 40,
Yeah. It was discovered in the between the 40s and the 70s.
Think of it like this.
Yeah.
It's such a new science. When the O.J. Simpson trial came about and the DNA evidence was submitted, it was such a new thing and such a new science to be able to identify a person. It was tossed out of the court of law.
Yes.
It was
and that was in the
new
80s.
of a science. Yeah. That was the 90s. That was early 90s.
Was it 90s?
Yeah.
It was late 80s.
I was in Oklahoma during that time period, I remember. So that's why, yeah, it was in middle school. So yeah, it was in the early 90s, and tossed out. So yeah, guess what? Bunch of people that barely know how a clock works, they're going to figure that out.
Most people, like scientists and people that dabble in magic, probably know a little bit more. And it makes sense that they'd be like, yeah, that's probably not good for you. And it probably has. And I've said, like, when I've told people that they can test blood and tell if you're related to one person or another, that's kind of, magically, I could see how they might be able to pull that off. So I'm okay with that. But I don't have them say, well, your DNA is no.
Yeah.
No, they don't even know. There's no.
It's your lineage. Lineage.
Yeah, it's your lineage. Works. It's in your blood. Or like Vaka used to say blood and bone. She always said blood and bone. She knew there was something about blood and bone. But she never said DNA or anything like that. Ever.
Yeah. So,
and the other thing that
go ahead.
For the love of God, can we please learn anatomy? Learn the basics about how the body works before you want to sit there in a role play and start saying how you heal people or how babies come out. And know that having a baby laying down in a bed in a hospital has only been existing for 50, 60 years tops. Most people had babies at home until the 60s. So they were standing up, walking, hanging from trees. There's a chair with a hole cut in it. You sat in it and you pushed, and the baby came out the hole and dropped in a bucket.
Yeah. Like
that wasn't that long ago.
Thanks, Jazz, for mental pictures. I don't want to get in my brain anymore.
So when people are like, they have this clean version of what birth is, it's really important to me that if you're going to role play, that you understand that medieval times were scary medically.
We're medieval.
So, like, surgery has always happened, and I can see with magic it would be a different kind of a thing, and it would develop because surgery's been a surgery.
Yeah.
Surgery's been a thing since there were humans, and humans have been dissecting humans since the dawn of man.
And sometimes it's been made illegal, and it was done illegally. They would dig up the corpses, and other times it was. During the
living people who were still alive, and they just drugged them till they were unconscious, but they were still awake and aware of what was happening to them. Yeah, fun stuff.
An unfortunate number of our scientific advancements came from the Nazi occupation in Germany, and what they would do on
experimenting on
Jews.
Experimenting on slave women in the South and the North back in slavery days. I mean, there's a lot of atrociousness that we've learned our modern technology from. And understanding that when you're role playing is important because you're going to run against people who are like, that's not a thing. Or to be a little crass, but I have to do this because it's my pet peeve, and you'll have to just accept my apology. In ERP, I can't tell you how many times I was told that they were penetrating my cervix.
What?
What?
Excuse me?
Multiple times. And I had to stop what we were doing. Stop. What? Just stop. That is not a thing. You need to stop typing that.
Yeah.
ERP. Yes.
This is why you avoid it.
Yes. But level
I think you just broke Yunfei, by the way.
The ignorance. And I was like, you do understand that's not possible. Yes, it is. I read it in Playboy. Okay, Playboy is not reality.
Dear Penthouse, science doesn't exist here.
So, please, whether you're ERPing, role-playing, I don't care. Learn a little science for the love of God so that I don't have to spit out my drink on my wall when somebody emotes that.
Yeah, but I think what we're looking over here is the one that really... It's the one we're gonna end the show on here because we've gone on for over an hour. It's been a good show, and I've really enjoyed the topic and all in discussion. But the worst thing that you can actually do in roleplay that's bringing modern day hangups into the real world is when you're in Eorzea or you're in Tamriel or you're in whatever game you're in, and you reach for your fine china plates. In a world where China is not a thing, you can't have China plates without the country of China where it originated. So stop it. You're an idiot. That's all I have. I think Jazz is talking, but I can't hear her.
Uh-oh.
She lost connection.
Yeah, that's one of those things I've seen people, I don't know how many times, reaches for their fine china for the amazing dinner. No, you didn't. You know why? Because it doesn't exist. It's
That's
not a
why
country.
you say you reach for the fine Vardenfell china.
Nope. You reach for the fine old Mary.
I was gonna say if I would probably
dishware.
whatever the
Altmary.
oldest culture is, which I would pick the Altmary probably on that one.
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
I'll give you that
golden,
one.
They probably have golden plates.
Porcelain, yes. I understand it's porcelain, Jazz, but that's why she can't talk. But
it's those halflings.
You could reach for your porcelain plates. That's fine. You can't call it China. It's not China plates. She's China.
Yeah.
I know. Every time I hear that word now, all I can hear is Trump saying China.
I love it.
And you know what? Okay, one last thing. Every time he says China, you know what I want to happen? I want China from American Gladiators to come out and put him in a headlock just because I think it'd be funny. Or see him verse her with one of those big Q-tips. That'd be awesome.
Oh, gosh.
American Gladiators was great.
We really have lost it.
We really have lost it.
Yeah.
But, so China, you don't use China plates. They're porcelain. It's porcelain. For the love of God, it's porcelain. So that's it. All right. So everybody good? I think we've gone over. Even if you're not good, we're going to stop the show now. So, all right. Well, that was our 59th episode. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Remember, if you're in the Vegas area, November 16th, look up limitbreakradio.com/blog.
Him to blow up?
No, there you are, Jazz. How's it going? Welcome back. We're going to go ahead and finish this thing out. So, yeah, check out Limit Break Radio's thing if you're in the Vegas area during the 16th and 17th for FanFest. Remember to go ahead and go to rpmmoradio.com/discord. Click the pinned button up there at the top and vote on which of the llamas you like best. I'm probably going to put them on rpmradio.com here before the end of the night so that you can just click the link there as well if you want to do that. If you are watching us live on Twitch and you're new, feel free to subscribe or follow us over there. Appreciate everybody over at twitch.tv/rpmmoradio. And, of course, you guys all deserve it. You did a good show, and you went in for the long haul on this one, and I appreciate everybody that called in. Yes. Kallo for being here, Smiling Sorcerer, Sabea, Insomniac. Yeah. All of you guys, I'll appreciate every one of you. Of course, also my crew, Jazz, Sib, Strafei, Rahanar as our call screener, and Yunfei in the chat, making sure that the words like dick and don't be one can get through, which we appreciate. Also, special thanks to Kishbis, who unfortunately is still on the run and on the lam. The dog catchers will find him. They will. With that, everybody, tune in next time when we'll go over halflings and why they have already been assimilated. Next time on RPMMO Radio.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everybody. The thoughts and opinions of those on RPMMO Radio are just that and should not be taken as the gospel truth, but pretty close to it. Music, as always, is provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great video game rock covers and original music.